What is going on, you guys? We are back for another Right to Real Love live show. I'm Jay Emanuel, joined by the very lovely Tatiana Green. What's going on tonight, Tatiana?
Hey, I'm a little tired, but I'm pressing through. We have some exciting topics to discuss tonight with each other and with our live audience. So come on in, fam. Let's get into it.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be fun. For those of you who are new, Right to Real Love, we discuss relationships and dating for men and women of faith. We got some really great topics lined up tonight. Some that, as you can see, we are going to be talking about friendship, dating. Is it a requirement? And we got two
Mhm.
others in the chamber as well. So definitely make sure you guys come in and we're going to dive into it today. And we got a letter from a real lover, which I think is really dope. You know what I'm saying? Like for the first time, since we've been doing a live show, I should say, I have received emails for the podcast, which is always a plus. And,
Mhm.
glad to see now that you guys are enjoying the live show enough that you're reaching out and sending in some feedback as well. We always welcome that. So,
Yes.
Tatiana, would you like me to read for you and all of our viewers tonight this wonderful little letter that we got in that actually ties in perfectly to our first topic?
Okay, let's hear it. Let's hear
All
it.
right, let's do this. Let's do this. So, here's what it says. Hey Jay, Tatiana, and the Real Love fam. I've been listening
Hey.
to your podcast for a while now, and I wanted to ask a question about my relationship. I met this guy earlier this year, and things just clicked for us so soon. We
Aw.
talked to each other every day, and after a while, we were part of each other's weekend routines. He recently had a loss in his family, and it hit him pretty
Mhm.
bad. After he initially told me what happened, I haven't heard from him for about 3 days. That's not like him at all. And I tried reaching out, but he's been short, saying that he's been busy with his family stuff right now. Right before Thanksgiving, he called me to talk and he let me know that with all of the things going on with his family, pressure at his job lately, and feeling quote unquote off, he wanted to step back from us and the time that we've been spending together. I feel
Wow.
so heavy and hurt in my heart. I really
Mhm.
care about this guy, and I've been telling him that I'm here for him. So I don't understand why he stepped away from me. I thought you were supposed to help each other in the hard times in a relationship. But now I don't know. Did I do something wrong? Is there anything I could do to save what we've been building? Anonymous real lover.
Oh man.
Man, man. Before we get into that, I see we got some comments in the chat. Salute. What's up, Tommy? Glad to have you joining us. Tiffany, welcome to the live stream.
Hi,
Anybody else that's out there,
Tiffany.
definitely drop a comment in the chat so we can shout you out. And thank you for joining us tonight. I'm guessing y'all just got to hear that letter. And man, oh man, I see the real lovers, y'all keep it real. Y'all keep it
Yes.
100. And I truly appreciate that. So, Tatiana, I'm gonna pass it over to you. What's your take as a woman? Because clearly,
Ooh.
nobody knows like a woman what that feels like.
I've honestly been in these situations before where it's like
Oh,
you're with someone and you're trying to see how things are going, and then all of a sudden something drastically happens, something stressful happens, and they kind of just fall off the face of the earth. That that is really annoying. It's a mixture of emotions because you don't know if you're to blame, you don't know if you did something wrong, you don't know if maybe something happened to them. You know the kind of crazy society we live in today, so any possible thing could happen. You don't want to assume the worst, but it just comes up in your mind as an option. So I don't know. It's hard for me. I try to stick it out and be there for that person, but just give them that space, like I was there,
mm-hmm.
but they never reached out to me to be there
Mm.
for them. So I was kind of like on my own, trying to
Wow.
help them
Right.
and in retrospect. But for this person, if they're telling her that they need space from the relationship, I don't know. That sounds like a soft breakup in a way,
Yeah.
especially before Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh, I understand. He has a lot going on. I mean, everybody
Mhm.
grieves differently.
Right.
Everybody handles stress differently. So it's like, I mean, the best thing you can do is just say, like, as a friend, you're there for them. But
Mhm.
if they're not reaching out to you for help, I mean, to me, I would just be like, just praying for them, but not going above and beyond because they kind of separated. They wanted
Right.
to create space. So it's kind of like you want to be there for that person. At the same
Mhm.
time, you want to respect the boundary that they just created
Right.
because they went from being together all the time, talking every day, having weekend routines together, to
Right.
he wants to separate from them. So to me, that sounds like he wants to create space. So don't I wouldn't want to overstep my boundaries in that sense then. I'm like, because it looks like he's trying to make a clear division between them.
Right.
So don't wait for him, especially if you're not committed like that. You're not married to this man. You don't have to
Mhm.
wait for him. You can move on, but also learn from this and see what it's like. Take those mental notes. Like, this is
Mhm.
how he acts when there's hard times.
Right.
Is this how he's going to act when another hard time inevitably comes? Because that's a guarantee for sure. We're going to have to go
It
through
is.
hard seasons, valley seasons and mountain peak times too. So
Mhm.
how does he act in the valley? How does he act with stress? So that's what came to mind when I heard this, or heard this letter you just read.
Nah, that's real. That's real. And we had a comment from Tiffany. She said, "Yes, I've experienced that before, but my partner used that moment to do a disappearing act,
Oh
sadly."
man.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it kind of sounded from
Mm-hmm.
the email that came in at first. She was saying like he went ghost. Because I was gonna ask you, like, is
What,
that
3 days?
ghosting? Like he kind of he went dark. Since he didn't ghost completely, I'm gonna say he
He went
went dark,
missing in
right?
action.
Yeah, he
Mm-hmm.
went missing in action. And in that situation, I'm glad that he did eventually respond back. I think that that was mature. He didn't just ghost her because I think he could have just did that, but
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have left a lot more questions, right? Because when I think about it, at least the women that I've spoken to, right? One of the main things that hangs them up when it comes to past relationships is when they don't get
Ooh.
quote unquote closure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like he at least gave her that. Clearly, she didn't want it to be broken up, but she did get a sense of closure with regards to knowing why the breakup is occurring. He's saying it's because of one, what's going on with his family. He said pressure from his job and
Yeah.
him feeling off. So I mean, like, take your pick. I mean, I think isn't it better to have three different reasons why you can say this is why he ended it versus like him just going dark or ghosting you and you're like, what the heck happened? So I can respect him for reaching back out, not ignoring her completely. And it's tough. I don't know how long they were together. She said that they had got together earlier that year. So
Okay.
I'm gonna make the assumption. I don't really like to assume, but I think it may be fair in this case to say that they have been together at least for some months, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the one thing. Okay, so Cynthia said she missed the question. So let me catch up anybody who just came in. So we got a letter from a real lover. And in a nutshell, she told us that she was with a guy, everything was going well. They pretty much were in a relationship. They were hanging out with each other on the weekend pretty much all of the time. And then he had a recent loss in his family. And because of that loss in his family, he went dark on her for 3 days. She couldn't get in contact with him. But then he finally reached out right before Thanksgiving. But when he reached out, it was to let her know that he wanted to end the relationship. And the three reasons that he gave is because of what's going on with his family, what's going on with the pressures from his job, and him feeling off. So I hope that catches Cynthia and everybody else up that just came in. So he was going through a tough time essentially, and he ended the relationship with one of our fellow real lovers. And she just wanted to get our thoughts on it. And actually, let's go back to her questions. Her question, the first one was, did she do something wrong? So I'm gonna just say I don't think she did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she did anything wrong. Yeah. But here's my question for you, Tatiana. Why do you
Mm-hmm.
think we have the tendency to look at it as if we did something wrong?
I think my first guess after the question you just asked was just like the whole rejection piece and how we can interpret or internalize rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we internalize the rejection. We be like, "Oh, it's because of me," when most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's because of that other person. Like when kids go through their parents getting a divorce, they have a tendency to think that it's because of them. I've been there. I'm a child of divorce,
Mm-hmm.
so I felt those same feelings. So it's like you can't help but think that as an option when the reality is it has nothing to do with you. If it was, hopefully that person would be mature about it to let you know, like, hey, it's not working out between us. As I got to know you, you know what I'm saying? Like, I realized there's some things we just don't have in common that I need for us to have a solid relationship. But he
Right.
didn't say anything like that. A lot of the stuff that he was telling her in the letter that we read was that it was stuff that he had going on. So I mean, we do have a tendency to internalize that stuff, even when they give us all the responses, all the reasons why we shouldn't feel that way, but we
Right.
end up being like that. What are your thoughts? Like, what do you think we do that?
Oh man, I honestly couldn't tell you why women do that. I'll be the first to admit I don't know. It's definitely I say it all the time to my Bible study group. I don't know is a valid answer, and I'll admit I do not have the answer to that question. I really don't know. I mean, clearly I could theorize on it, but ultimately I think what you said makes a lot of sense. I read a really good book earlier this year on rejection. I think it was called Rejection Proof. And one of the main things that was recurrent throughout that book is how we internalize rejection. We make it about ourselves when oftentimes that's not it. You know, that
Right.
book helped me to see that the rejection isn't often directed towards us, but it's directed towards the situation or is directed towards, something that's going on with that other person. But
Mm-hmm.
here's the main thing that I learned from that book, Rejection Proof. And it was so obvious, but I never even thought to apply this. Anytime you receive a rejection, stop to ask why. I think that's one of the things that
Mm-hmm.
we often don't do. But in this case, clearly the real lover did that. She asked him why they were breaking up. He gave her the reasons. So in that regard, I think it's just the difficulty of dealing with the fact that that relationship is coming to an end.
Yeah.
And it's easy to point the finger at yourself, but I think in this situation, you're the last person that you should be pointing your finger at. Like you didn't have
Mm-hmm.
anything to do with the passing of his loved one. You don't have anything to do with what's going on with his job. I'm assuming, I'm gonna make the assumption y'all don't work together. You not the reason for his stress and his pressure. And with
Yeah.
regards to him being off, like that's personal. Like he didn't say you're making him feel off. And that's the one thing that I can respect is I didn't see in his responses the word you pop up, which is even more reason for her to recognize that, hey, it really doesn't have anything to do with you. But let's see, we got some comments. Tiffany says, yes, as a woman, we do internalize rejection. Yeah, and I'll be honest, I think some men do as well. Some
Mm-hmm.
men who haven't learned how to properly get over rejection, they have as well. I definitely can say that rejection is something that I struggle with for years. And yeah, part of that is internalizing it, and thinking that the rejection is directed at you as an individual as opposed to some other situation altogether else. Then we got Cynthia says, I wonder if it's a control issue. We want to find something we can do better or change, but if it's out of our control, it's hard to understand, maybe. What do you think? You think it may be a control issue?
Yeah, it could be too, because like as women, we may have our own idea of how we want the relationship to go, and
Hmm.
like from the letter, she was saying like how everything was going well, how they had a routine.
Right,
So when something strays from the routine, you're like, okay, what happened? There's a
right.
security there that you want back, and so she's not getting that. So she's trying to find answers, like for someone
Hmm.
to strain from the routine or get off course. It makes you think like all the possibilities, like what's wrong and how can we fix it. So I could see that too.
Yeah, and this is the one thing that I have to say is she didn't seem bitter, at least to me. From what I was reading it, sometimes people be real bitter after
Hmm.
a breakup, but she seemed pretty composed. I mean, she seemed to just have some questions about what was going on, and like she mentioned, feeling the hurt, which is definitely something that we would expect. With regards to Cynthia's question, yeah, I think control does play a part, and I'm definitely one of those people, and I'll be the first to admit it, who when I stick have a routine, I pretty much like to stick to it. Like I'm definitely to a certain extent in different areas of my life a creature of habit. And
Hmm.
if things go off course, that's one of the things I've had to learn how to maneuver is the frustration of, oh man, I was expecting things to go 1, 2, 3, but then it went 112, 50, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And like I'm trying to sort this out. So yes, I think in relationships for sure, if you have a destination in mind, we don't know how far in advance they were looking,
Right,
but
right.
I'm gonna put it on you. I'm not gonna make the assumption. I'm gonna say it, but then I'm gonna pass it over to you to confirm whether or not what I'm saying is accurate. Sometimes women have the tendency to look a lot further in advance into the future when it comes
Oh
to a
yeah,
relationship than men do. So maybe
absolutely.
she was thinking, a little bit further down the line, and then like, the record scratched, and now all of that is coming to a halt. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's a possibility, and depending on how long they've been spending time together, and the fact that they had these this continuous like getting to know each other moments,
Mm-hmm.
spending time with each other every weekend. She was saying, like, I was like, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of
Yeah.
emotional investment, developing that emotional attachment. Who knows if there's a physical element to that? So that can all get combined into one big thing. And so when it doesn't work out, you're like, dang, this is my whole life right now, kind of like.
Right.
Hopefully not, but like that's a big
Right.
portion of my social life, a big portion of the things that I like to have going on in my life in a positive way. Now it's all
Mm-hmm.
question mark. I'm like, no, we were going somewhere, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what came to mind with that.
No, that's good. So her other question was, is there
Mhm.
anything I could do to save what we've been building?
Save yourself, sis. Save
Why do
yourself.
you say save yourself?
When someone gives you that space and they like pretty much legit break up with you, you need to respect that
Hmm.
and respect yourself by respecting the space given between you and that other person. Like, okay, well, this is what happens when you
Hmm.
give space between you and I. I'm about to move on. I'm not
Right.
necessarily saying go date the next person like tomorrow. I'm saying
Hmm.
take your time to heal, take your time to pray, take your time to get your feelings out because I think she's going to have to grieve this relationship.
Right.
A lot of us don't take that time to actually grieve a relationship. We just kind of like feel those initial feelings and then we try to get over it in maybe a not so productive way. But I
Hmm.
hope that she's listening and that she goes through the process of like healing and realizing like it's not her fault, not internalizing it, not taking it on her as a negative mark on her, whatever that's
Hmm.
supposed to be. But just like learn the lessons, like look for any red flags. Is there anything that she overlooked in the beginning that kind of gave a sign or a hint that this would happen? And kind of take notes like, okay, I want a guy, the next guy I date, I want this person to be communicative about how they're feeling, or I want this person to handle stress better. And what does that look like for you? And don't date anyone who does the same thing that your ex did. I mean, honestly, that's how we have to learn from our situations. I think sometimes we can be the person who internalizes the rejection from the breakup, or we can be the person who's like, we blame that person for hurting us,
Hmm.
and then we don't apply the lessons we were supposed to learn in that relationship. It takes two
Right.
people to operate in the relationship. Even though one can break it down, you still played a
Hmm.
part in that. So it's like, let God or the Holy Spirit reveal to you what you may have missed while
Right.
you was all in your feelings, caught up in how they looked and how you guys felt when you were together, all this other stuff. Let him
Right.
reveal you and show you those things so you can learn, because you will get tested again. I am a witness. It has happened to me. So speaking from experience,
Right.
please do not put that on yourselves. Learn the lessons and move on. What would you tell her, Jay?
I'll be honest. There's not much more that I can add to what you said. I feel like in the situation, I don't know what more she could have done. She was there for him and she asked him the right questions. She stayed in communication with him even after he went dark. She seemed to have been patient with him. She listened to him and she didn't try to fight the breakup or, try to beg him to stay or anything like that. So I think she handled it respectfully. And like I said, I feel like the priority now is to heal. And I was going to ask the question, and I want to get your thoughts, Tatiana, and everybody here in the chat. Definitely let us know, do you keep a window open? Because I mean, like, this isn't a traditional breakup. Like, yo, is something wrong with you? This is something that potentially could be fixed within not so much a long period of time. So, how quickly do you, just shut it down and be like, yo, this is a wrap? Like, is that something you're doing instantly, or are you kind of giving some time to see if he circles back?
I don't know. I don't know. It's giving me don't go back, sis. Don't pass go. Do not collect $100. Like, as someone who's gone back to an ex before, it's something you don't necessarily want to entertain. Definitely, I wouldn't recommend going back to the past. I mean, it gets complicated. People have their reasons why they do what they do, but in terms of that, if that's the one time that you've seen this guy react to a stressful situation or a valley season or a hard time, and this is what he does, he's not going to change in a couple of months. It's going to take some time. And so you have to think about that. You're like, this is who he is right now. There may not be a change or maturity in his behavior and his reactions to hard times. So is this
Mhm.
what you want to deal with when y'all come into a relationship again? If you happen to do that, what happens when y'all get engaged and something happens? What happens when the bills don't get paid? What happens as you dip off? What happens when the kids drive you crazy? What happens? What happens when
Right.
your relatives pass away or something happens on your side? Is he going to be there for you? Is it going to be
Mhm.
too much for him? Is he going to want a break? Like, what? We need to see more than a couple months done pass in order
Right.
for us to even entertain the thought of being in
Mhm.
communication with that person again. You
Nah,
have to
that's real.
you
That's
have to
real. You
set your
bring up a good point.
boundaries. You have to
Yeah.
set your boundaries and keep them, because that's how people end up getting taken advantage of.
Mhm.
And as Tiffany said, no doubling back. I agree,
Right.
because you
No
don't want
doubling
to,
back.
because there's no guarantee that that person really changed. Maybe they on the surface changed to get you back,
Mhm.
but at the core of it, at the foundation of it, they haven't changed.
Mm.
Even in psychology, it's like you want to you want to reward positive behavior
Mhm.
by by showing up. So in the relationship, the negative behavior that he was showing by not reacting the right way to stress, by dipping off, by leaving you high and dry,
Mhm.
by you coming back to him, that's rewarding that behavior essentially.
Mm.
There's no incentive for him to change. I always
Yo,
think
that's real.
about that. As someone who took a couple of psychology classes in college, that stuck with me. Positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. So coming back to that ex, especially when you know they haven't changed, or you just don't have that sense in your spirit like there's a change there for real.
Mhm.
There's really no guarantee. I wouldn't recommend it.
Nah, that's real. That's real. So we had a few other chat comments come in from Tiffany. Says that's a good point to breathe after a breakup. I agree. Tiffany also said, no, I don't think she could have done anything differently. And I agree. Anybody else, if you got your thoughts, let us know. Do you feel like you would give him some time to come back? You agree with Tatiana? Y'all like, nah, ain't no way I'm not letting that dude come back. It's a wrap. I think you brought up a really good point with regards to his character and his behavior, right? So you got to ask yourself, is this the way that he always responds, or is this a unique situation? Is this an outlier, right? Because sometimes it could be
Right.
like,
Yeah.
if it's a parent of his or somebody that passed, like that's a whole nother situation. Like
Yes,
I
it
feel
is.
like there are some situations where you may have to give a person a pass, and I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
get to that in a minute. But I see my girl Asia has joined us. What's up, Asia? Asia said this could be an area where he falls short. So I would give him a little grace, an area that he needs to work through. So don't wait forever, but being still isn't bad. Truly have to be led. And then she says, his character will speak for him, if this is not his usual behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I'm saying too. And don't get me wrong, like I'll be the first person to say, like, when somebody reveals to you who they are, and we talked about this honestly during last week's live show. If somebody reveals to you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
And you should believe them when it comes to their character. The only thing, like if it was just the pressure of his job, if it was just him feeling off, then I would be 100% with you. I'm 99% with you when it comes to adding the loss of a family member, right? I feel like the 1% will be one, his character. He's not really the type of person, he hasn't shown you, however long y'all been together, that he has this pattern of running away when things get tough. And depending on who it was that he lost. Was it
Right.
somebody really close to him? Was it a parent, a grandparent, or some family member that he really felt close to, even a sibling, right? Like those type of losses can rock people. Like there are still people who are going through the grieving process years after experiencing
Yeah.
those type of losses. So I'll say this, even though I feel like you don't necessarily want to make like a hard break, I would say it would be a soft one. Like I would be, every day that went by after me, if I'm in this situation, every day that goes by, I'm slowly removing myself from the situation, right? I'm slowly breaking away from it. And depending on when that young lady comes back around, she may mess around at a point where I'm too far gone. Like I'm at a place where it's just like, you are, yo, I respect you. I feel for, the situation that you went through, but I have removed myself from this relationship completely with regards to my emotions and
Mm-hmm.
my connection to you. But
It can
that's just my
totally
take.
get
We
like
got
that.
a few other comments. Let's see. So
Mm-hmm.
Asia says, and it will be, and if we are being honest, hold on, let me say this. And if we're being honest, men just process things different. They do. And then again, she says, not an excuse, but they do. Right. It's not an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what's up, Tanisha? Welcome. So glad you could join us. Tanisha says, I do not wait for any man. So, yo, there you go. There go your woman in arms right there, Tatiana. If he cannot communicate during hard times, then that is a red flag for me. I might listen to him if they come back around, but we would not be in a serious relationship. Respect. I
I
I,
would,
I can't do nothing but
yo,
respect it. I respect it.
I would take it. I would not. Yeah, those emotions would definitely be on the back burner. Like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to you. I want to hear how God brought you through this situation. But if you're trying to rekindle some feelings, it's gonna take a little more than you just popping up
Right.
today. Like, no.
Right. That's real. That's real. Tanisha says the guy can at least say he needs some space. To just ghost someone and ignore them is not acceptable. Yeah, that's right. Right. Ghosting is completely different. To be fair, in the situation with this gentleman from the email that came through, he didn't completely ghost. We were being nice. We said he went dark for 3 days, but then he did communicate. He reached back out to her and he let her know what was going on. So it wasn't like he just completely disappeared. It was he gave her some reasons why he had to go, but I totally respect the ladies, and yeah, sometimes you just got to let that person go. I can't be mad at that at all. So I'm curious, Tatiana. You said you've been in a situation like this. What would you want to have happened differently? Like, was there something you feel like your boyfriend at the time didn't communicate that you would have wanted him to communicate, or something that he did or didn't do that you would like to have changed?
Yeah, it was just it was part me staying around longer than I needed to and not seeing the signs initially because like it happened more than once in within that year that we were together. So I kept excusing it because I had my emotions involved. I was wrapped up in it. I was not seeing the red glaring red flags for what they were. And instead of like confronting him about it or speaking up about it, I was kind of like, I was just happy that he was alive and that he responded to a message or he gave me a call or a text message. And it just got to be too much of not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to, at some point, just realize like I was in a one sided relationship and step away from that. As much as I claimed I loved him, as much as I wanted to be there for him, as much as I wanted to give him grace and forgive him, it just wasn't working. There are some
Mm-hmm.
circumstances where it's like that person is just not ready for a relationship. They're not available. And if
Right.
they're not available like that, they don't need to be in a relationship right now. You just got to give them that space and let them be them. But you don't, because you'll be the only person investing emotionally, and that's going to drain you. And it was literally draining me. It's a very, very draining situation. I'm so glad I learned from that, and I'm better for it. And now, if I see something that's out of character for someone that I'm talking to or involved with, I would be more patient with them and not be quick
Mhm.
to necessarily write them off. I would want to like get to the bottom of things. But if I see it's a pattern or something like that, I'm definitely taking mental notes. And if it doesn't change, then I have the responsibility as an individual to make the best decision for me. Because ultimately, if you're still dating, if we're not married, like um, I'm still trying to figure out the right person who I want to be with long term. If you're not ready for that, because there's some things you still need to mature in, I'm gonna let you do that. But I can't do that with you in a relationship. It's just not gonna work like that because those are two different goals. So yeah.
Nah, I agree. I agree completely. And Tanisha said, okay, 3 days is not that long. 3 months. Yeah, right. See,
Mm-hmm.
like,
3 months. Yeah, you thinking they're dead? Like what's going on?
yeah, three
That's too
months
long.
you've been ghosted. Like, I'm gonna just keep it 100. Like, you've been ghosted if it's been 3 months.
That's a
But
whole season almost, right?
right, yeah, like
Mm.
3 days, like that's like the weekend to a certain extent. That's an extended weekend.
What kind of
And
weekend is it though? Because
what's that?
what kind of weekend is it though? We need to, there's another factor in there too, if we're going to be honest. Because
Bring it out.
some of these, we're in cuffing season still, fam. As you know, if you haven't been cuffed up already, it might be too late according to the chart. Apparently, there's a chart. And so, certain weekends, there are a little more emphasis on relationships than there are others. Like if it's a
Mm,
holiday weekend or something like that, and he dips, you disappear, you don't hear from him. Mm, it's a little suspect. But if it's a random weekend or something, like maybe I don't know. I think even holidays might play a role in it because you never know, Jay.
nah,
I'm not
I get what
excluding
you're
other
saying.
options that could be there. Like he could have classmates, friends,
Mhm.
extended family members that come in. They bring people. You meet someone new. Anything could happen. I'm not ruling it out.
Right. I'm not see, and that's the imagination of a woman running wild. You know what I'm saying? Like this man dealing with losses, and you thinking about, oh man, did his friend from college come into town and he brought some chicks with him? Like dang, man,
Everybody
my man
grieves
can't even
differently.
breathe.
Listen, everybody grieves differently.
Right, yo,
Okay,
that's true.
so
That is true.
some
I'm
people
not gonna say
overeat, some
no. Go
people
ahead. What'd you
drink,
say?
some people overeat, some people drink, some people do other things, and they
Yo,
don't
like
want to
look,
compromise
us as
their
men,
current
we
situation.
catch breaks though. Like,
Hmm.
trust me, there are some men who may respond like that, but I promise you, the majority of men, if they're truly grieving, the last thing they're probably thinking about is like laying up with some random chick. That's just funny though. That even during the grieving process, a woman is like, "Yo, is he with that other woman though?" Like, come on. Like, yo, that goes back to the whole character situation, right? If you got a man
Hmm.
of character, like
Come
you really
on.
think yo, man of character is using grieving as a reason to like creep out. Like, yo, I'll be honest, that's a stretch. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that does give me some insight into the imagination of a woman. Like, dang, Tatiana, your imagination running wild. It was three
Listen,
days, and you like, hold on, bruh.
I,
Like, yo, hold on. Is it been 3 hours? What was you doing in them 3 hours? 3 minutes? Hold on. I know you, 3 seconds. Did it take you 3 seconds to respond back to me? What was you doing?
oh, it's not that bad. I'm just saying, like, people find reason to do stuff, okay? They will
Yo,
find a
and look, I
reason.
told you this your sister in arms.
Tanisha.
Tanisha, like, good point. She right. Yo, ladies, y'all are funny, man. That's funny to me. I can't believe that. My man is being accused. He being accused of stepping out. It didn't take that long, did it?
I didn't want to make that an option, but I wouldn't rule it out either. Because sometimes
Wow.
guys be pulling that. Remember
But see,
that
y'all be mad
song?
if a man said that. But how dare you say that she was with some man? She just lost her sister. But it's like, yo, he just lost his mom. No, he was with a chick.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
That's not the first
dang.
that's not the first thing, but it definitely has a little asterisk next to it. Like possibly in italics in the back.
Wow,
At the bottom of the
you're like,
list.
can you take a picture of your dead mom and send it to me? I kind of need to know. Like, that's crazy. Like, I think that's kind of crazy.
Let me see that death certificate.
Like, yo, now that's a reason to break
That's
up
funny.
beyond the all of that other stuff. Like
Like,
now I'm calling
yeah,
her
it might be some
question.
trust
I'm calling her
issues
character into
there.
question then. But no,
Oh
so
man.
Tiffany says, I will want my boyfriend to share and let me help him work through the issues. But if not, just discuss giving space for an agreed period of time. Yeah, and that's the other thing that I was going to talk about is instead of just breaking up completely, you know how you can have like that, like yo, I just need some time, right? And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's important too. You got to communicate that, like yo, I just need some time. And if you communicate how much time, because that's the most important thing. Like if a man tells you he needs some time, or a woman tells you if she needs some time, brothers out there listening, don't just leave it at that. Like ask them, well, how much time? And it may be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. No, you
Yeah.
need to get some specifics so that you don't have your these high expectations and this person is unwilling to meet them. So yeah, I think that's important. So let's see. Tiffany says that's funny. Let me see that death certificate. Wow, yeah, that's crazy. Tiffany said she agrees. Yeah, yo, the death
And
certificate, dog.
back to the character point you were saying, Jay, and what Tiffany was saying, like, yeah, if they are truly like if they're mature, you know what I'm saying, if they want
Mhm.
to keep the relationship going, then perhaps they'll bring that option up. Like, just give me like a month to get my mind right,
Right,
and I'll get back to
right.
you. I promise,
Yeah,
you know, and then follow through.
yeah.
Make sure you follow through, and then you
Mhm.
look for the follow through. We had agreed on a month long break so you can get your mind
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been a
So
month. Where we at? What's up?
I gotta go back to the cheating for a second. Like
Oh snap!
I can't help but just ask this question. Like, if a woman believes that her man could be cheating when he's supposed to be grieving, is that really a man that you truly trust and should be in a relationship with anyway? Like, I mean, is there ever a point in time when a woman is like, yo, I completely trust this guy, especially if the man is honest, right? Like,
Hmm.
because I'll be honest. I'll be honest. I said it last week when we were talking about dating multiple people. I feel like one of the biggest issues is that you got men who are liars. But
Hmm.
if a man is honest about what he's doing, you can't say that it's dirt. So if a man is telling you, like, you're not the only woman I'm with, believe him. And you're either going to get down with the program or you're not. And my thing is, if you're with a man who's honest enough to say, hey, I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to other people, and you eventually get into a relationship with him, if he was honest enough to tell you that, are we now at a point where if he tells you he's grieving, you're questioning and saying, nah, you might be cheating, bro? Like, no, like, listen, like, yeah, I stepped out. Like, I'm heading out. Like, this boy's weak and whatever the case may be. But when you with an honest dude, he's not going to lie about doing that. It just makes no sense. So hold on. Tiffany says, I know a man that did that, and you are right. I always question his character. Hold on. Which one did he do, Tiffany? Give us some detail. What exactly did he do? Because I want to make sure we right. Did he do what Tatiana is saying? Like, he said that moms or somebody had passed, and he out there in the streets starting. Because if he is, like, he's definitely not helping me make my case at all.
I'm saying both could be right. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But I mean, it's anything can happen. That's the thing.
Right.
Like sometimes, unfortunately, people lie. Sometimes people get caught up. Sometimes people grieve in weird ways that are low key self destructive.
Hmm.
And it's like sometimes they're faced with something traumatic, and it triggers them to do self destructive things like ruin their relationship, like either a premature breakup with little to no explanation, or they go off and cheat on someone. I'm not ruling it out, but I don't want to make that the forefront of what the issue is either. If she
Nah,
just simply has trust issues, she's gonna project out onto any man that she's with. If
that's
there's
real.
a gap in communication somehow.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So before we get into our second topic for tonight, did you have any last words or takeaways that you want to share regarding this topic?
Oh, Tiffany replied to your question, Jay.
Oh, he cheated with an ex-girlfriend after the death of a family member. Wow. Yep. So totally just kid. Like,
Mic
Tatiana,
drop.
I mean, you got all the receipts tonight. I mean, your people are coming through in the clutch, and just, man,
Thank
we
you,
had sound
Tiffany.
effects. That was definitely shots fired at my argument for sure. Man, his dudes out here like this. Wow.
It's rough. It's rough, and
And
it's
look at what he did though. He went to the ex-girlfriend. What does that say?
how close was the ex-girlfriend to the family? Like, was
Right.
she
That's what that
comfortable
kind
with
of
them
made me
enough to
think.
go to the funeral? And then they saw each other and had a moment of weakness because that
Yeah,
happens. It's like,
right.
ah.
Like you mentioned, like you mentioned, some people be consoling in all different types of
Mm,
ways. Said she came to the funeral after years and they connected. Wow. Wow.
wow.
That's crazy.
Mm.
Man.
So that's the possibilities that I be
See,
talking
they didn't
about.
do what you were talking about earlier, Tatiana. People leaving that door open. Like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
we gotta put a bolt on that door, man. Like, people
Clink,
be
clink.
people be doubling back though.
And they want to blame it on grieving. And that's hard because you like when you want to give people grace at the same time. It's like, come on, man.
Man.
Think about this. Think about
Wow.
this before you do this. I don't know. That's rough.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you, Tiffany, for sharing that. I was like, oof, I
I
feel
step
bad.
back, man. I ain't got nothing else to say on that point. I'm handing over to you. Any takeaways you want to share?
Takeaways is definitely like you all said, which was very good points of noting their character, noting their habits. Like you said, Jay, people are creatures of habit. That's what we do. We have habits, we have routines, and so when something is off, let that be alert. It's not always a negative thing. It's not always the worst case scenario, but it's something to capture your attention. Like if you stub your toe, you feel the pain because something happened to your toe. Maybe you need to pay attention to it. Either it broke, which is the worst case scenario, or it just got hurt for a little bit, which is the better scenario. So either way,
Mhm.
you got to look at it. So in this case, you want to look at it, ask those questions like, well, what's going on? Ask the why. And if they give you the answer, you got to respect that. If they want to give you more, they'll give you more. If they don't want to give you any more, you got to respect that too.
That's facts. That's facts.
Yeah.
And looking at it from the male perspective, what I would share to the ladies out there, I think the first thing that you have to do is acknowledge what he's experiencing, right? That's the first thing. You got to acknowledge it. And then after that, you have to ask him if he's willing to share it with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because just because somebody's experiencing something and you are starting to kind of pick up on it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is ready to start talking about it. And the next thing I would say is, after you ask him what's going on and, if he's willing to share with you, you guys can have that conversation. And then you also need to let him know that you're available, right? Like you don't want to force yourself into the situation, especially if that's something that he may not want to include you in at that moment, right? That's the key point at that moment. And then I think going back to what I shared earlier, you want to be honest about your expectations. If he does ask for a break, or if he does say that, he needs some time or he wants to break up, you got to ask him like, yo, is this a long break? Like how many days you need? Get the specifics so that you do not have unrealistic expectations. So
For
you do
sure.
not just put yourself in a position where you're just hanging in limbo, because that's the last thing you want to do. The one thing that you should be assertive about and take a stand on is you have to communicate with me how long you're expecting me to wait for you to go through this tough time. That may seem harsh, but if you're unwilling to do that, then I think we may be close to the end of what we once had. So like that's the way that I look at it is, acknowledge, ask those questions, let him know you're available, and then by all means be honest and make sure you put on the table how long it's going to take for him to get over this and for you guys to work through it.
For sure. I do
Yeah.
want to add something real quick,
Please.
Jay. That yes, I know we're at the end of November as of this broadcast, but November is Men's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Mm,
So if you have men in your life and they go through hard times, pointing them out to different resources, encourage them to get counsel or therapy, get wise counsel either from pastoral help or a clinical professional, and just pray for them, hear them out. Let's take the stigma out of mental health issues and getting therapy, seeking help with for our emotions and mental health, because mental health is so important. Emotional health is important. It's not just for women; it's for men too. They need it, and we all need to support each other. So let's look out for one another.
Nah, that's real. That's real. That's good. And before we close out, y'all know we like to keep it biblical over here. So I want to share a scripture in Philippians 4 and 6. And this is definitely directed towards the ladies. It says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. So this is for the women who, you're going through that break period. You're trying to figure out things. You're kind of in that limbo situation. Don't be anxious. Remember
Mm-hmm.
what the word is saying. Don't even be anxious about the situation that you're going through with this man. Put everything in prayer. Like bring it to God.
Yeah.
If your man has, gone dark, or God forbid he's ghosted, or he's asked for a break, or he asked to break things up, go before God in prayer. Thank him for the time that you had. Thank him for helping this person to get through it. And if things are meant for you guys to come back together, pray that God will allow it to happen. If you guys are meant to break up, ask that God begins that healing process within you. So that's the last thing that I wanted to just share is, the scripture tells us don't be anxious for anything. I totally acknowledge that it hurts. Like breakups suck. Like I'll be the first to admit it. Breakups suck. You have to go through that healing process
Yeah.
and you have to start over to a certain extent, but you learn. We can tell you learned some lessons, Tatiana. Like
Yeah.
I definitely can tell tonight that you learned some lessons from those experiences that you had, and that
Mm-hmm.
helps when you move forward and when you get into new relationships. So definitely apply this principle. Don't forget it, and don't allow yourself to be anxious about anything. Now,
Amen.
before we get into our next topic, you guys, just want to give everybody the opportunity. If you haven't already, go ahead, hit that like button. If you guys got some questions that you want us to dive into, make sure you get active in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are. We will put your chat questions up on the screen. We'll read your questions. So we want you to be interactive with us. If you know anybody who you feel like will find value in this, definitely go ahead, share the link, let them know that they can come join us as well. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that also. As y'all know, we've been dropping videos on the weekly basis. So definitely make sure you stay tuned. Check out all of the clips that we're dropping on the podcast and on the YouTube channel. And I encourage y'all also, if y'all got questions, y'all can send them in. We'll read it anonymously, just like we did for The Real Lover today. We always are interested in any topics or questions you guys want to have us discuss. If you want to be a guest, we've actually had some people reach out to us about that as well. So if you want to hop on the show or you know
Mm-hmm.
anybody who you feel like would love to come on and dive in, we welcome it. With that being said, Tatiana, anything you want to say before we transition into our next topic?
If you guys are on Twitter, make sure you follow us on Twitter.
Yes.
Jay's on there as well as Right to Real Love Radio. What's your handle on Twitter again?
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is I am J Emmanuel, and the one for Right to Real Love is at RTRL Radio. Yeah, and definitely let them know yours. I'm gonna make sure I put that in a ticker, so we'll have that next time we do a show.
Okay, cool. Mine is Bliss for Singles. That's the name of my blog. So Bliss, like the word bliss, for FOR singles.
Yes, yes. So definitely make sure you guys stay in touch, hit us up. Definitely be respectful if y'all slide in the DMs. We like to keep it very respectful in these parts. And do think first, think before you sin. That's one of my favorite one of the books that I like. Before you hit sin, definitely take a moment to think before you do that. Make sure it's honoring to God. We are welcome to you guys communicating with us, but always keep it honorable, keep it respectful, and we will respond in like kind. But with that being said, you guys, let's transition into tonight's second topic. And y'all know this is the staple for the night. Y'all already saw the title if you tuned into the live show. Do you need to be friends
Woo.
before dating?
Boom, boom, boom.
All right. So Tatiana, you saw the live stream last week, right? Where we were talking about
Yes.
talking, getting to know somebody and dating, right?
Yeah.
So do you agree with the definition that I gave where I say getting to know or talking to somebody is where there hasn't been an investment of a commitment or a consistent commitment to invest in this person? And from the perspective of a man, making a consistent investment of my time. But with dating, that's different. With dating, that's when I'm consistently investing. Very similar to the message that we got, where they had a routine of seeing each other on the weekends. That's what I would perceive as dating. We ain't in a relationship yet, but I'm to the point where I am exclusively dating one person, and I'm investing a consistent amount of my time in her. So that to me is what I look at as dating. Do you agree with that definition? You got another way of perceiving it?
Yeah, I feel like I liked you all's definition, and it's actually a really good episode last week. So I'm sorry I missed it live, but everybody gave really great responses and had a great discussion on, especially on this topic. Oh my goodness. So I would definitely, I think mine is a little different, but I definitely understand where you're coming from. To me, talking is like that getting to know that someone stage before you like date, like actually commit to dating them. And then dating to me is just simply like meeting up with someone, getting to know them. And you can do that with more than one person. Should you? It depends on the person. But when it comes to like being exclusive, almost that boyfriend, girlfriend, courtship type of commitment there, that's more exclusive. And I think that's where like more there's more severity to it. Like you guys have a common goal. You both want the same thing. That's why you're exclusive. That's why you're putting even more time and investment into getting to know each other. So I think it's like, so there, to me, it sounded like you were saying there's dating and then there's exclusive dating, which can be a thing,
Well,
unless
I
it's
feel
like,
like I feel like a person decides whether or not the dating is exclusive.
mhm.
So I just choose
Oh,
to date exclusively. But
okay,
somebody else, like they may decide that they want to get to know multiple people or talk to multiple people at the same time
okay.
and date multiple people at the same time. But like we were sharing last week on the show, and we definitely miss you, by the way,
Oh,
you
thanks.
know, I just feel like to make that level of investment in multiple people is just doing too much. Like many of the people that shared in the chat last week, I remember Krista saying it with regards to it gets frustrating when you're trying to juggle like a bunch of people that you're investing in dating in. So that's what I would say. You can exclusively date, or you can multiply date a lot of people. But to me, the concept of dating is just where I'm consistently making an investment. It's not like I hit you up every once in a while, or we may talk every once in a while. Like, nah, I'm consistently talking with you on a more than likely a weekly basis, and in some cases, if we really feeling each other, we may be talking multiple times throughout the week, or in some people's case, even daily.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the way I look at it. And Tiffany, I want to address her comment. She was saying, can we submit questions to your email? The best way to do it is on the website. So anybody that wants to submit questions, all you got to do is go to righttoreallove.com/contact. I did put that in the chat for anybody who wants to share a question, a topic, or if you have a situation or experience that you want to get our thoughts on, like the previous real lover that we talked about today, definitely do that as well. Yeah. So with that being said, I think you and I have a pretty solid foundation with regards to how we perceive dating. So with that being said, I'm gonna just send it over to you. Do you think you need to be friends with somebody before you date them?
No, but I think if you want to have a solid relationship, committed relationship, I think it would be good to develop a friendship in the dating process. So I guess it depends on what your end goal is. Because I could go on a date with someone a few times to get to know them, and I may not want to be friends with them yet because I don't know them like that yet. So, kind of like how you have to field friends, you have to screen friends that you let into your life. You got to screen people that you want to be in a romantic relationship too. So, I kind of thinking about that. So, if it's unless it's someone that I knew before, like we were actually friends for real
Mhm.
before we started exploring dating, then that's something different. So I guess it depends on your situation. But if it was someone that I just met out of the blue and we went on a couple of dates, I'm like, I want to see how they are. Like, can I be a friend to them? Can they be a friend to me? But if I want a romantic relationship, I definitely want to have that or establish some sort of friendship before we get like committed. But in terms of just dating, it's like it's not necessary. Does that make sense?
That definitely makes sense. And I agree. I know that there are a lot of people out there that don't hold that position. Some people believe that you need to be friends with somebody before dating. But and let me be completely transparent. I used to be one of those people, but I have changed my perspective. I don't believe that it's not. Yeah, yeah.
Jay, we gotta
I am
break
not.
this
I'm not
down. We need
closed
to
minded. I
know.
told y'all one of my mentors about 2 years ago
What?
really opened my mind to the importance of being objective. I used to
Okay.
always just look at things from a narrow perspective, but when I started looking at things from a variety of perspectives and being more objective, I had to change some of my views a little bit, and not in an abrupt type of way, but I started to see what other people why other people did the things that they did, and I understood it. I started asking questions that I wasn't asking about it. And I also, when it comes to this topic, I started to evaluate my own experiences. And to
Mm.
me, one of the biggest issues that can occur for men in particular when it comes to trying to be friends with a woman prior to dating her is you may get relegated to the friend zone.
Mm-hmm.
You may get relegated to the friend zone if you invest more time trying to be her friend as opposed to letting her know you want more than just that. You want to date her. You are romantically interested in her. See, I definitely used to be one of those people that used to do that, where I would spend this time investing in being her friend because I thought that was the right way to do it. And then sometimes that would land me in the friend zone, sometimes it wouldn't. But the one thing that I look at now is, man, a lot of those young ladies that I was becoming friends with, I really was interested in them. And I should have just been upfront instead of just not being honest first and foremost with myself to just say, hey man, like you want to be in a relationship or dating this young lady. And yes, there is value, don't get me wrong, in developing a friendship.
Yeah.
But I feel like when we prioritize the friendship over your desire to be romantically involved with somebody, it could come back to bite you. And that's the one thing that I've learned
Mm.
personally.
That's true. Let me tell you. Like
Mhm.
sometimes in friendships, you can get even like too comfortable with a friend to the point where you show too much of your humanity beyond the point of grace. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like to the point where
Dive into that a little bit more. Elaborate on that.
something you do, something you do that turns them off that they would have overlooked if they have romantic feelings for you. I think that's a possibility.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's real.
Sometimes it happens. So I don't know. That's what I had to say on that one.
Nah, that's dope. I was looking at this comment over here. I apologize for being distracted.
No
Tiffany was
worries.
saying, "I believe I missed out on many great." She believes she missed out on many great guys that were friends because she couldn't see them beyond friendship.
Hmm.
And see, like I feel like that's the other dynamic, right? Where from a woman's perspective, she's like, these dudes were friends, but it wasn't until after she stopped looking at it from the perspective of they're just friends that she looked back and was like, oh man, like I might have actually dated those guys. And low key, this is what men, especially men in the friend zone, are hoping for. They're hoping that the woman will one day come to the realization to see them beyond just friendship. And let's just be honest, I'm assuming that she's not with those guys now. So that's the risk that you run, is that one day she may wake up, but by that time it's usually too late. And she goes on and say, I couldn't see them beyond those boundaries of friendship. And that's real. That's
Sometimes
what
it's
I've
like
learned.
that,
Fellas, you got to be aware of that. If you don't want a woman to see you as a friend, be careful setting that as the first intention that you have,
for sure. I
because it
wouldn't.
comes off a little disingenuous to a certain extent, right? It'd be different if we started
Yeah.
off as friends and then it was like, oh man, like I'm kind of feeling shorty. I wasn't feeling her like that at first, but like now as we've gotten cool, now I'm like I'm kind of feeling weird. And that's what I learned. That's how it started working for me. Is I started to learn like, yo, I got to be more assertive. And then I started to notice like, okay, some women I wasn't really interested in like romantically like that. But then as I'm developing a friendship with them, I'm like, yo, I'm kind of feeling her now. And I'm looking at her in a different type of light. And then that's where, as a man, I had to make the decision to say, you know what? I'm either going to continue down this friendship road or I'm going to take a stand and let her know, like, yo, I've been developing this friendship with you, but yo, I see you way more than a friend. And I would like to, start dating you or look into the possibility of getting into something deeper than this. And that's what I had to learn. But if you are already at that point, that's where you want to be like, hold on, don't talk that friendship talk when you know you want something more than just that. So we
Hmm.
got some other comments. Let's see what Tanisha had to say. I agree that you can build a friendship in the dating phase, but I don't think you have to be friends for a certain period of time before dating. I agree. I agree.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's essentially what we're saying. Like,
Yeah.
you don't
It's
have to
like,
do that. So
Because, like, what
Asia
if
said,
you met them at a party or something and you just
right,
happen to meet them? You kind of want to just date them because you're interested in them and then
yeah,
build from there if you want to.
I agree. I agree. Asia says, I do agree that feelings do grow in some cases, but the fear of rejection keeps people silent. That's right.
That
That's right.
sounds
Yeah,
like a nice plot to a romantic comedy.
it does. And you're writing
Yes.
something similar to that. I mean, maybe you, take a note, jot it down. Tiffany says a guy was crushing on her for years and they were really good friends. Years later, they connected and he shared his feelings. Yeah, see? But like,
Wow.
look, it's years later. That's the
Tiffany,
thing.
did you know though? Like, sometimes you can tell, like, if they're looking at you a certain way, like, does
I think women know. Like, let's just get down to brass tacks. Do y'all know? Like the way you be getting up in the camera and Tatiana, do y'all know? Do y'all know? That's what I want to know. Do y'all know? I think y'all know.
If you have good observant friends, they'll tell you, especially in the group chat, like, so and so like you. No, he's just my friend. Girl, he is not just your friend.
Right.
Let's hope we have friends like that who look out for us. Because sometimes we be kind of oblivious. We're like,
Do
sometimes
y'all
we have
really
that
though?
tunnel.
That's the question I'm asking you. Do y'all really be oblivious though? Ladies in the chat, please, do y'all be oblivious? Like, have y'all been like, oh, I had absolutely no clue he liked me until my friend told me that, oh, girl, he's really feeling you. Like, I just don't believe the obliviousness.
It's rough. It's like you don't want to be like every guy wants me,
Right.
and you also don't want to be like so. It's kind of like where do you balance that out? I guess you gotta like look for the signs and look for the cues.
But going back to that, like, even though you don't want to be conceited, like every guy wants me, I think
Hmm.
it's totally different from a woman thinking that every guy wants her versus this guy wants her. This guy likes
Mm.
her. This guy is attracted to her. Like, I feel like there's a difference there. And
Okay.
that's more so what I'm talking about is you've had interaction with this gentleman and you're totally oblivious to the fact that, yo, he might
Hmm.
be vibing on you.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. That's
I
my
think
thoughts.
I think you can miss it. I think you can miss the cues. I mean, women are smart, but sometimes we have those moments where we're just aloof of certain situations, or we don't know someone's flirting with us because maybe we're not good flirts or we're not experienced like that. So I wouldn't put it past a woman to miss the cues, but if the guy needs to make himself known, he should. If he
Yeah,
wants her.
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I firmly believe that the man should make his intentions known to the woman. I'm just saying that I find it very difficult to believe that some women are just like, "Oh, he like me? Are you serious? I didn't know." Like, come on, stop. Like, stop. But okay, we got some good comments coming in. Let's see. Asia says, "I would prefer us be friends first, but maybe I need to be more open too." So, are you saying friends before y'all start dating? Friends before y'all get into a relationship? Like, where do you prefer to be friends? Let us know, Asia.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I could see that. Because sometimes people don't want to date strangers, Jay. Like
Yeah.
sometimes they want to get to know someone, maybe within their friendship circle or
But this
in
is the
their
thing, like
fellowship
they're not a
circles.
stranger though. Like to be fair, if we go along with the definition that I gave, at
Mm-hmm.
some point that person was in my talking, getting to know phase. I was getting to know them, and then now I'm dating them, meaning I'm consistently investing time in them. So they're not a stranger. Following my definition. That's all I'm saying. Like I know everybody has a different definition of dating, but to me, the woman wouldn't be a complete stranger. Like I've been talking to her, I've been getting to know her, I'm vibing her, I'm feeling her. Now I want to make a consistent investment of my time in her. We may not be friends yet because this is the one thing that I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
One of the people that I learned the importance of, and I'm gonna get to your comment in a minute, Tanisha. One of the people that I learned the importance of being friends before getting into relationships or even dating somebody is from Dr. Miles Monroe, and I totally agree with what he was saying. The caveat to it is he also had a various levels of friendship, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
believe
Mm-hmm.
that when you talk about entering into a relationship, yeah, a person should be at a certain level. But I don't believe you need to be at that intimate, super close. I'm sharing all of my purpose and my goals and aspirations and dreams for my entire life and what I want to build with my family. Like I'm more than likely, no, I'm not more than likely. I'm not doing that while I'm just talking to somebody. And it's very seldom that I'm doing that while we're dating. Like I'm feeling you out, I'm getting a vibe, I'm open, I'm sharing things, but when it comes to like, yo, I think you're invested in riding with me to the future, I don't know that yet. So that's the reason why I hesitate to say that we're still friends when we're going through that dating process. We're developing the friendship, but I think people hand out that friendship term really quickly, really easily. But I like the
Mm-hmm.
way Dr. Monroe did it. When you break it up into levels, it makes me to better understand. When people say they're friends with somebody, they don't necessarily mean like this person is rocking with them. They're gonna be there for the rest of their life. They're not going anywhere. They're invested. They hold each other accountable. They're rocking. That's totally different. You just have people that they're solid, they're good, y'all get along, y'all have things that you have in common, and
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah. So going to Tanisha's comment, she says, "That's true, Jay. I was strictly friends with the guy for 4 years, and he tried to get out of the friend zone, but I only saw him as a big brother." Oh, that's even worse. Like a big brother? Gosh.
I mean, it's Bible.
Our
We should.
relationship was bro
Mm-hmm.
and sis only. Oh my gosh. Like that is like the worst thing a dude ever wants to hear. Like, I mean, it's one thing for her to see you as a friend, but men, the minute she calls you bro, the minute, ladies, he calls you sis, I promise you, that is a cue that that person is telling you, us romantically, never gonna happen. Nobody is checking for their brother. Nobody is checking for their sister. So the minute they tell you you're the bro, you're the sis, that's bad, man. That's bad. But it is what it is. Asia says you can feel like you know, but be wrong. She's been very wrong. Okay. Tiffany once again said she didn't know. So this goes back to I was asking her if women are completely oblivious. Asia says she thought she knew once and was wrong, and she'll never assume again. Yeah, man, making those
Wow. Yeah.
assumptions.
Was,
No, you wanted to say something, Tatiana?
mm-mm.
Oh no.
No, you good.
She's like, nope, I'm just taking it all in. Tanisha says in her case, she didn't know. He has had girlfriends and fiancés. Wow. Consistently during our 4 years we
That
were
what it
friends. My
is.
mom said he liked her, but she didn't see it. Then one day out of the blue, he was trying. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think that he was liking you either. 4 years, he got girlfriends and fiancés. Clearly, if he had, he clearly doesn't have a problem communicating with women that he wants to be romantically involved with them. Girlfriends plural looks like fiancés plural. So yeah, I
Okay.
don't fault you at all, Tanisha. I'll be like, yo, he clearly wasn't checking. But I'm
Right,
curious.
like well, I would feel a way about that. It was like, so after all of this, you come to me?
Right.
Like, what if she had feelings for him too, low key, and then out of the blue, like several years later, he's like, hey,
Right.
so I'm like, hey, where were you like 3 years
Yeah.
ago when I could
Yo,
have
this that
really considered this before the fiancés with an S?
facts. Facts. And Tanisha said, so he was trying to flirt with her and it was very uncomfortable. You know,
Oh
that whole vibe
man.
reminds me of like that brown sugar type stuff. Don't
Mm-hmm.
don't fall for
Mm-hmm.
the movies, man. Don't fall for the movies. Like, what dude is looking at a chick that he's interested in while she is with a whole nother man? What woman is looking at a dude and he's not just talking to, but totally engaged? She's at the wedding. Like, y'all do know she was at the wedding right there.
Disrespectful.
Say that again, please.
This disrespectful.
Right, right, yo, crazy, crazy. So Asia says, if it's not direct, it's not correct. If you
Ooh,
don't say it, I will not know. Period. That's right. Like I
that
said,
clear directness clarifies things. That provides clarity so that everybody can be on the same page and gives that other person the option to decide instead of just keeping them in the dark or in confusion. Who got time for that?
right. To me, a lot of men in the friend zone hoping that women will call them up.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Put
like
me in
you
the
a minor
game,
league,
coach.
like you in the minors, like you in the G League or something, and they trying to call you up to the pros or something. Like this is to me, you can't put yourself in that situation. Just don't do that. Don't do
Mm-hmm.
it. Avoid that at all costs. Please.
So
So
Jay,
okay, what's up, Cynthia?
question for you.
Glad you could
Every
join us
quick.
tonight. Cynthia says, sometimes I can tell, but if a guy doesn't make a move, then that's not the guy I want. Yeah.
Oh, tell the truth, Cynthia. I had a question for you, Jay.
Yeah, what's
So,
up?
like, if a guy's in the friend zone for a little while, let's say it's like a year or two,
Oh man,
and
he ain't never getting out.
oh, why you say that? Why you say
A
that?
year or two?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's not getting out.
why you say that?
Well, one, he did it to himself, man. A year or two. Like, if you were feeling her, why are you still in the friend zone for a year or two? Stop.
Well.
Stop.
And if a guy ends up in the friend zone, did he always have like more than friendship feelings towards the woman, or did something change? Like, did that happen
Um,
sometimes?
I don't know. Like, I feel like some guys can be in the friends. Well, I feel like you're only in the friend zone if you do have romantic feelings, right?
Okay.
I feel like the minute it goes back to the example I was giving before, where it's like
Mhm.
I'm friends with a woman first, and then one day I wake up and I'm like, oh, look at her. Like, never looked at her like that until now. That
Right.
at that moment, I need to take action. At that
Okay.
moment, like at that moment, you got to let it be known, or now you will be in the friend zone and you have nobody to thank but yourself.
So how do they get out once they have the revelation that they should date their friend?
You let them know. You like, yo, I know we've been friends for a while, but I ain't gonna hold you up. Like, I'm digging you now, and I want to start dating you. You down? Period.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, guys.
Period.
No
Period.
time
Like
like the
that's it.
present. Gotta
That's
be
it. Like, yo,
honest.
like we've been friends. We've been vibing. I know I've been vibing you. You've been vibing me. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be in your life. Yo, let's take this beyond just friends. It's time.
Come
That's
on
it.
here.
That's it. Write it down if you don't know what to say. Go back, rewind and say, write that down, say that exactly to her. And if she with it, she gonna be like, yeah, I've been waiting. Like the like the ladies been saying, like, yo, bro, I've been waiting.
Mm-hmm.
See?
Good stuff.
And I think partially too, like men got to be aware of choosing signals too, because sometimes women are actually interested in you, but you in the friend zone for your own reasons. And once again, I've been there. See, like I can talk like this because I've been in these different situations. I told you I examined my own experiences and I was like, yo, there's so many lessons right there. I have been in situations where I chose friendship. And then when I let the woman know that I was interested, she was like,
Mm-hmm.
yo, I wanted you from the jump, but like, yo, you was with all this friendship stuff. It's
How
too
did you
late
feel when
now.
you heard that? Oh,
It's
she
too
said
late
it's too
now. You like
late.
it hurt. It's like, and this is the thing. Looking back, she was choosing. I wasn't aware. I was so used to having to play that friendship
Dang.
game that the woman was choosing, and I wasn't even aware. Well, first and foremost, men, you gotta be aware of the choosing signals. Like like now looking back, when I analyze all of the women that I've talked to, dated, been in situations and relationships with, I can clearly distinguish when a woman is interested. And this is the thing that I'll say for men
That's some good
like
stuff,
myself who
y'all.
have been in the friend zone and who have played that whole friendship angle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the toughest things that you're going to have to learn how to overcome is when you are interacting with a young lady who is not interested in you. Like for me, I just be like, yo, she ain't into me. She ain't into me. Like I like her, I'm attracted to her, but I know she's not into me. There's no choosing signals whatsoever. And in those instances, I mean, by all means, if you want to shoot your shot and you cool with it, that's fine. I'm not saying don't do it, but I've learned that sometimes it's really obvious when a woman is just not into you like that, or I should say, not into me like that. And in those instances, I've taught myself to be like, "Yo, that's cool. That's cool. I know what it is, and I just keep it pushing." And I would
Mm.
just say that to all of the fellas out there: if you know for certain that a woman isn't into you, let it go, and more importantly, let her go. Let your feelings for her go in that way. If you still want to be cool with her, be friends with her, by all means. But you got to get yourself out of the mode of thinking that there's going to be more. Like that's how you end up in the friend zone, like you just said, 1 or 2 years. Don't do that.
Yeah, and don't romanticize the friend zone. Like, take it for what it is. It's not a romantic comedy, you guys. As fun as those are at times, sometimes it's very cut and dry. Like, if they compartmentalize you in that friend zone, that's probably where you're gonna be at, unless y'all have open and honest communication.
That's
And you
real.
probably need to take the risk and do that if you feel like there could be more than this.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Asia said, "I would prefer us to be friends before getting into a relationship." I
Mm-hmm.
agree. I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Because at some point the romance may not be there, but the friendship has to be.
For
I'm
sure.
glad you brought that up because that's the point that I wanted to make. I don't believe you have to be friends before dating someone. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe you have to be friends to the highest level while you're dating somebody. But I do believe that by the time we get ready to enter into a relationship, we should be friends. Like I should have
Mm-hmm.
communicated to you where my life is headed. I know where your life is headed, and we know that there's some type of alignment. Going back to one of our favorite scriptures, we mentioned it last week, and I'm gonna share it today. Amos 3:3. Can
Yes.
two walk together unless they have agreed?
There
Period.
you go.
Period.
It makes sense. It makes sense. You want that friendship foundation because, like Asia said, there will be moments where you won't have those romantic things. There might be a season where you're tried and you have to like work together. And so you want to be able to like that person
Mhm.
beyond the romantic feelings. That's why I always believe like I want to like this person that I'm with, not just love them because of attraction or chemistry or whatever. I want to be sure that I can actually be friends with this person outside of all those lovey-dovey feelings because that's what's going to keep you guys, especially when you have the inevitable hard times.
Nah, that's real. That's real. So Asia has a question, but before I bring that up, want to share Tiffany's comment. She said, "I desire friendship now first because you have to like a person and trust to build a long-term relationship. In hindsight, I will now date a guy that was initially friends." Yeah,
Okay,
no, that's real. That's
that's
real. I can
fair.
respect that.
Thank you for sharing that.
And here's Asia question for us: do you feel a man can take a woman out of the friend zone? Could his feelings change?
I'm going
So
to defer to Jay on that one.
a man take a woman out, like do men placing women in the friend zone? Is that a
Y'all
thing?
don't? Y'all don't?
I don't. I don't like. I'm very like. I've been in situations where women have wanted more with me, and I just wanted to remain friends with them. I didn't put them in the friend zone. I communicated with them that, hey, like I totally respect the fact that you would like more, but that's not really something that I want to pursue. And I want us to remain friends. So I'm honest with you. You're not in the friend zone because to me, the friend zone is where you're hoping there's going to be more. That's like friends aren't in a zone. Like that's the thing that I think is needing to be communicated. Friend zone is for people that hope they one day they're going to enter into the relationship zone. if I'm friends with somebody, I don't go around walking around talking about, yeah, me and Tatiana, we in the friend zone. Like, nah, man, we friends. Like me and old girl, we're in the friend zone. Like, no, like that's just my friend. Period. Like, I'm not gonna be saying that you in a friend zone when we're friends. That doesn't make sense. I'm gonna say
But
that person in the friend zone until I'm ready to call them up to the big leagues. Like, that's the friend zone. That's the friend zone. I'm keeping them in limbo. Like they said, they don't care that I'm not feeling them right now. She like, yo, if you ever need anything, I'm here. Anything, just hit me up. Like, now you in the friend zone. You put yourself there because you still hoping that one day I might call you up.
okay, so they put themselves in the friend zone if that's the case. But you already said they're a friend.
Yeah.
Period.
And I'm
There's
talking,
no entertaining anything
and I,
beyond that.
and let me be clear. I'm saying if I
Interesting.
directly communicate to a young lady that, hey, I only want to be friends with you. Period. I only want to be friends with you. If I communicate that to her, and then she's still like, yo, well, if you ever need anything, if you want anything, like cuffing season coming around, if you ain't got nobody, all you gotta do is just call me.
Comment.
Like, you've put yourself in the friend zone.
Interesting.
That's what I would say to that one. Like, she's put herself in the friend zone. Like, I didn't do that. Like,
So,
let us know what y'all think in the chat, please. I mean, this is hot. Like, y'all drop y'all comments. Let us know what y'all think.
so
My,
guys have female friends, and there are no female friends that they would ever entertain. They're just gonna be female friends.
well, I told you, I'm different than some people. Some people may do that.
Okay.
Like, some
Okay.
people may do that. Like, I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. It's too much at risk. Like, I'm not gonna have another person in limbo, and I'm definitely not gonna put myself in limbo no more like that. So for me, I make things cut and dry. Either we're friends or we're more. Period.
Mhm. 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 As
That's
long
it.
as
We're
everybody
either friends or
knows
we're
what's
more.
up. Okay.
And
Interesting.
or here's the other category. We talking. We getting to know each other. In that
Mhm.
regard, you're not a friend yet. And as far as like romance, I don't know if we'll become anything like that, but we're getting to know each other. What's your take? Like, what do you think about all of this friends on? Like, I see your looks. I feel like you processing the stuff I'm saying, and I want to hear what you got to say about it.
It's just I always like to hear the guy's perspective, and that's definitely a guy's question. Do you feel a man can take a woman out the friend zone? I think he can. It depends on his intentions. There probably was a situation where he didn't see his friend like that, and then she became revealed to him, and so maybe he's considering her again. His feelings change. What would cause a guy's feelings change would probably be my question, in agreement with Asia here. Like, what would cause his feelings to change?
Yeah. She goes on to say, it's definitely possible to not be feeling someone in one season and they're your friend, and later in life you feel them. It happens. I agree. I
Some
don't
people
disagree.
glow up in different seasons,
I
and
don't disagree
so
with that. I don't disagree with that. Like, I mean, trust me, I can count at least on one hand how many women that I look back at and I'm like, oh, dang, I had a chance back in the day, but like, I didn't know she was going to develop into what she is today. So, yeah,
mhm.
but this is the difference. Like, I've learned, like, when it comes to women, I don't pine like that. I don't look back and be like, oh, man, like, yo, I could have had her if I would. No, like, I wasn't feeling her like that then. That's not to say if we reconnect, like I wouldn't take advantage of the situation if it's a possibility. But for me to be looking at like, oh man, I missed out on that. Even a young lady, like I mentioned before, that I relegated myself to the friend zone. And even though I was feeling her, and then she told me that she was feeling me too, and that essentially I messed it up. That's on me. I don't look back like, dang, what's she doing now? Like, nah, it was like, yo, we friends. I just recognize the fact that I missed that opportunity, period. Life
Mhm.
is filled with that. It's an opportunity cost to every decision that we make.
Yeah.
What do you think though? I'm curious. What's your take on the
Fair
whole?
enough. Yeah, like I said before, we don't have to romanticize the friend zone. We have to see it for what it is and mind our boundaries in that, because that's when you can mess yourself up. Because if you feel like you need to show and prove to this person that you're a viable candidate for their love, but you already know what they told you, that you're just a friend to them. You're doing yourself some damage because you're trying to act like something that they didn't ask you to be.
Right.
So you
That's
hurt
real.
yourself. Yeah.
I have a direct question for you. Do you put people in the friend zone?
I cousin zone someone, Jay.
What is that? Like, wow. Just when I thought the friend zone was enough, what is the cousin zone?
The cousin zone is like when you just happen to have similar qualities, similar. In my case, it was similar name. Like I wasn't interested in him like that, but we had a similar last name, and so I was like,
What?
oh, so I
Yo, so
call him.
somebody last name could get them in the cousin zone? Like,
I
oh, hold
wasn't
on, bro.
I wasn't interested in him like that. So I was like,
Oh, okay, okay.
cousins, like
Yeah,
we
I got you.
cousins, and emphasize that. And to this day, we are cousins. So
Wow, that is so disrespectful. That is so like, yo, I don't ever want some woman like, yo, Jay, you're in the cousin zone. Like, I mean, goodness, like the friend zone is bad enough. Now I'm your cousin. But this is the one thing that I can say, with my last name, it's not likely that that'll relegate me to being in anybody's cousin zone. So I think if that's the only qualifier, I'll probably be okay. But I still feel like, yo, I ain't mad at you, but that was kind of that was a little shady though. That was
Oh my
shady, T.
god.
That was shady, Tatiana.
Oh my god, they're just trying to be friendly without pulling a full stop. Like, nah, bro. Like,
What's okay? That's a whole nother question. In the chat, let us know what's wrong with pulling the full stop.
for me, I guess it's just being too nice, being a nice girl syndrome, which I'm working
Kind of
on.
like nice guys, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes
that's
we
what I
don't want
used
to
to be.
hurt people's feelings.
Mhm.
So yeah, it was kind of like out the blue because it was at a school graduation. I never met him until that day, and so you're talking to me, and I was just like, I just want to get out of here. Hey, cousin, like, yeah, we got the same last name. I'm not about to play with you. Like, she said, not the cousin zone.
Right, not
only
the cousin zone.
only happened once, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's wild. But nah, I can totally relate to what you meant with regards to being too nice, and I can relate. I used to be that quintessential nice guy, and I realized that that wasn't effective for me. I'm not
Right.
saying that doesn't work for other people, but being a nice guy just no, like that doesn't work because I have to be clear about what it is that I want. And sometimes that means I may have to hurt people's feelings. And what I learned is okay, being honest, getting that out there, and their feelings were hurt for a little bit. I can live with that. I can live with that. And guess what? They get over it.
Oh, good.
And sometimes that's it. And then other times, yo, we're still cool. No drama. And guess what? Now everything is laid out on the table. So there's no wondering, hoping, thinking. Like we just keep it 100.
Yeah, and it's like you did everything you needed to do, right? Because we can't control how people are going to react to being put in the friend zone or being broken up with. That's something they have to walk out on their own. What we do owe them would probably be respect
Always.
and honor, because we would
Always.
we would want the same treatment, right? So
Right.
just considering that, sometimes it's hard because if it's someone who is totally disrespectful to you, you want to give it that same energy, but God told us to do otherwise, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you kind of want to do your part to make sure you ended it on the way you wanted to, and not
Yeah.
because someone had you in your feelings and in
Right.
your flesh reacting a
Yeah.
certain way.
Yeah. And I want to be clear, like I don't get pleasure out of hurting women or hurting anyone, right? I don't want to hurt anybody, but I understand that sometimes it's required to be completely honest with somebody, even if it
Hmm.
will hurt their feelings for a moment. And that's the one thing that I learned. It's like I'm not intentionally hurting your feelings. I'm actually putting you in a place where you can go meet a man that can meet your need. What it
Hello.
is that you desire, you can go meet him.
Hmm.
And that's the same thing that I would want a woman to do for me. Like
Yeah.
if put in that situation, please don't lie and say, "Oh, like I'm feeling you, I like you," when you don't. Don't do that. Because like I said, I'm observant. I at least I like to think I am. I like to think I'm pretty observant. And I admit, y'all already know, I admitted earlier, I've been wrong sometimes. There's sometimes when I've been wrong. Like I wasn't picking up on the signs. I feel like I'm more equipped now, but I'm always learning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always learning. And one of the things that I'm really starting to learn now are the women who are like super reserved. Like they almost do not know how to give a choosing signal. Probably don't even know what it is. And that to me is something that is completely new. Is like, okay, like some women, they may be into you. They just are completely clueless when it comes to, emitting a choosing signal. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning to, okay, sometimes it may be necessary to, just go ahead and say what it is if I'm feeling her and see if that's the zone that she in or if she really was just not feeling me. And that's what I was picking up on from the jump. So yeah, it just depends on the situation, but ultimately always be honest, always.
Mm-hmm.
And one last comment before we transition to our last topic for the night. Tiffany says, as women, when we don't want to hurt guys' feelings, we will put them in these friend and cousin zones to keep from feeling awkward, right?
Yes.
And see,
Yes.
like the key in that statement is the fact that you're doing it for your benefit. That's what I learned is not what's for your benefit may not be to the benefit of the other person. And if we go
Right.
back to what you mentioned, Tatiana, if we honor them, if we respect them, why am I putting myself before this other person when I know that the longer I let this play out and I don't just address it, it could have an even greater impact on this person. For example, what you mentioned earlier, 1 or 2 years in a friend zone, like,
Sometimes
dude,
people think taking being put in the friend zone is the maybe, and they're like, I can earn her love. Some people be like that. Some people be like that.
maybe
That's the I can change them kind of person. I can convince them that I'm the right person for them, which
well, there
is
you
kind
go.
of
There you go.
we got to work
That's
on that.
flawed though.
It
And,
is.
and let me be clear.
It's
In
not
my
healthy.
opinion, that's flawed logic. That's flawed
It's
logic.
it's not the
Cause I
healthiest way to go about things.
like let me ask you this. What is your favorite dessert or food?
Mm, let's see. I had the Auntie Patty's sweet potato pie this weekend, so I'm just
Okay.
go for that in this example.
Okay. So how likely is it that 2 years from now you no longer like that? It may not still be your favorite, but what's the
Hmm.
likelihood that you just gonna go from liking it to like, nah, I can't stand that pie now?
Probably not that likely it'll change to
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right. All right. So we got a question that came in from Asia. Or if a woman is super nice and outgoing, that can be mistaken as interest. Yeah. And see,
Yo.
let me speak as a man, right? That's one of those things too, is you gotta learn to observe a woman and not just when she around you. I think that's where this
Interesting.
stands out. Because as a man, if she got that personality where she's just like that type of woman, and
She's that
it
feeling,
seems
yeah.
like she choosing all day, you got to see her outside around other people, preferably other men. Because if she doing the same thing around every other dude, like you mentioned, Tatiana, she cousining everybody, like, hey, cousin, give me a little hug. It's not a twerk hug, but she a real hugger and everything.
Ooh, not a real hugger.
Then you got to be like, okay, hold on, man. I don't know. I don't know if she was really feeling me or if like that's just who she is. And as a man, once again, you got to be direct and just say, hey, like, it feel like you vibing, let me know. And just take it from there. Cause let her know that you're definitely interested in her, but you definitely not trying to misinterpret her signs. Is it just
Right.
her personality or is she really into you?
Mm-hmm.
Asia says because her personally, she is extremely outgoing and friendly, but around a guy that she likes, she's much more reserved, a little shy. So it happens.
I understand.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be like that sometimes. They
yeah.
maybe like, oh no, me?
Yeah.
No. I
Yeah.
remember having a conversation with a brother in Christ, and he was talking about the same thing that the previous comment said about how sometimes people can interpret you just being a nice person for interest. Like, I'm
Mhm.
not trying to date you, I'm just trying to be nice, just
Right.
opening the door for you, saying hello to you at church. That doesn't mean I see you as my wife. okay. Some of these, that's what he was saying. I was like, oh Lord, that's what they be thinking.
Oh wow.
Can we just, be happy that, our brothers in Christ like open the door for us, and if they express interest out more than that, then
Mhm.
yeah, then maybe she'll look into it. But I feel like sometimes, men and women, we can be a little afraid of rejection, and we don't want to we don't want to ruin what could be. But at the same time, if you feel like you're ready for a relationship, you don't want to dwell in the what ifs for so long. You want to take
Right.
that chance and do it, you know what I'm saying? And go ahead and have that conversation, that brave
Mhm.
conversation. Like, hey, you want to get some coffee one day? Let's catch up on life, and then ease on into it. There's ways to go about it. Sometimes you don't have to be like, do you want to date me? Sometimes you just got to figure
Definitely don't
out.
do that. That's not smooth at all.
No, it's not. Sometimes you want to like kind of ease into it, get to know where they're at. And even with the letting them off the hook, not
Mhm.
necessarily having to put them in a friend box, cousin zone, whatever the case is, you can just be like very diplomatic about it. Like, I appreciate your interest. I
Mhm.
am not interested, or I am literally taking. Someone has my interest right now, or
Mhm.
you don't even have to say right now because that could be a qualifier. Or you say your interests or your intentions are different. So you just keep it simple like that, and
Right.
hopefully they take the hint. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's all
I've
you
used
can
those
hope for.
lines before, and I felt more ease saying that than trying to make up this flowery "I see you as a friend" kind of thing. No, I have enough male friends. I don't need
Yeah,
any more.
that's
I'm
real.
good.
So Tiffany has a question. She says, Jay, what should I do if I'm feeling a guy, but he isn't catching the clues?
Wow.
Uh, More than likely, he doesn't know how to read choosing signals. If you're sending choosing signals his way, then I'll be honest, like, unless you not necessarily initiate and ask him out, never, don't do that. I'm not advocating for that. But if you haven't like verbally communicate with him and kind of really let him know that you're interested, like really open that door and he still don't walk through it, I would say move on. Move on. Because he still has to get to a point where he can express his interest in a woman. And if he can't read clear choosing signals, like because you said you giving him clues. I'm curious, what clues are you giving him, Tiffany? So that could kind of give us some insight into whether or not the brother is just missing it, or maybe the clues you think you sending are not necessarily the right clues. So while you bring
Mhm.
that up, what I wanted to do is just convey like the main takeaway from this topic that we were just talking about is I think that people should definitely value friendship. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
value friendship, but I think that you have to not prioritize it when you are interested in a romantic relationship. So let me be
Mhm.
clear. Value friendship, but beware of prioritizing it when you really desire a romantic relationship. Because if you prioritize friendship over that romantic relationship, you run the risk of never being able to enter into it. So just be aware of that.
Fascinating. Yes.
Any last or closing words or takeaways you want to share on that topic?
No, I gave them. I gave them
Okay.
in there. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. So before we get into our third topic of the night, I just want to take this time. If you in the chat, let us know what your thoughts are. Any questions related to the topics that we talked about thus far? Any questions that you like to pose before we get into our third topic? Or if you want to have some questions for us to answer when we get to the end, you can go ahead and share them, and I'll make sure I save them for us to discuss. But in the meantime, definitely hit the like button if you haven't already. Leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you know somebody who can enjoy this conversation, definitely send them the link, invite them so that they can join in too. With that being said, Tatiana, let's get into our third topic for tonight, the last one, which is settling really a bad thing? What do you think?
Let's see. It's about to me. It's about context, and we're gonna play semantics in this segment. I just feel like we are, because sometimes people can
We'll
take.
try not to.
Okay, because sometimes settling. I think if we have the same definition of settling, then maybe we'll have the same viewpoint on it. But
Okay.
is settling really a bad thing? I guess if you think about how it's presented in modern day society, how it's presented, like, yeah, don't settle, the whole don't settle movement. I share don't settle messages on my platform. You basically don't want to settle for less than what you deserve. Not in an entitled kind of way, but more like a you know your worth kind of way. And so you don't want to um, just take anything, like be complacent with, have accept the bare minimum. That's what I mean when I hear don't settle, or when I hear settling in the negative connotation in terms of relationships. And then there's the settle down, where that's more of an older term, but most of us who are listening have heard that before in a more positive way. Like, when are you going to settle down? Like, when are you going to, stop running the rat race of singleness and dating, and stick with one person and commit to that person? I think that's more positive than the don't settle version of settling. So those are two different definitions to me, two different scenarios. And so I don't think if we're looking at it at the positive version, for example, because we know the negative is bad if you think about it.
Mhm.
But I don't think if you're settling down, like finally deciding that you're going to commit to one person, I don't think that's bad. And then calling it settling, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay,
So I hope
that's
that
fair.
makes sense. I was I
That
was all
definitely
up,
makes
I
sense.
was all up in here trying to think about it, but yeah.
I caught the main point.
Okay.
So I agree with you at the heart of how you define settling, which is not settling for somebody that doesn't honor you, doesn't respect you. That is something that I believe a person shouldn't settle for. I believe, and this is just my personal opinion, based on my observation of watching different videos and hearing different people talk about settling, it sometimes it is the whole, don't settle for somebody that doesn't treat you the way you need to be treated, or who don't really deserve you, all of that, right? That's a part of it. But I think what has come to the surface when people talk about don't settling is don't settle for anybody that doesn't meet your qualifications, your list. And
Yeah.
that is where I think it's a bad thing, because it,
Interesting.
it takes us back to that whole list thing again. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to find the perfect person. You're not
Right.
going to find the perfect husband, the perfect wife. You're not. So you're going to have to settle in some regard. So if you're unwilling to settle for the fact that you're not going to get the perfect person, then I think that it's going to be detrimental to you to think that settling is not an option. That's the way that I
So
perceive
okay, yeah, that's really good, Jay. So to me, when you're saying that, is meaning like basically instead of being so close knit to your list and what you want on your list, have some think of those qualities on that list that are negotiable.
it. Hmm.
And as Tiffany said on here, when you modify your standards or lower expectations, I don't consider that settling. Um, let's be more realistic about your expectations. And yeah, because so many factors can come into it, like
Right.
technology today, where we're at. Like dating today is different than it was in our parents' day, than it was in the 90s, 80s, etc. So we had to kind of adapt to it in a sense, but still stick to our core beliefs. And if someone doesn't line up with what we believe in our core, then it's not going to work. Yeah, you're just inviting conflict at that point. You would be settling in the
Yeah.
negative way.
Yeah. And I feel like it's really about the message that people are conveying ultimately. And it sounds like you and I, and even Tiffany, the point that we're trying to convey is that a person shouldn't lower their expectations. Like, it's about loving yourself, honoring and respecting yourself enough to know, once again, the type of person you should be walking with. Amos 3:3. Like, if this person doesn't agree that you deserve the honor and the respect and the treatment that you believe that you are deserving of, then no, you shouldn't, quote unquote, settle for that person. Like, and I don't even look at it as settling, because that's not settling. That is just somebody you shouldn't be with, period. Like, to me, that's why it's like, that's not even settling. That person shouldn't even be a option. They shouldn't even be somebody that you're even
Mm.
considering. So settling doesn't even come up, because that person shouldn't even have caught your eye. The minute you even got whiff of the fact that, oh, they don't respect you, especially if the person is a believer, like they don't love you, like, come on.
Yeah. They're
So
settled, they're settled down and then they're settled for less. So we have to think, we have to make sure we ask ourselves that question, like, am I settling down? Like, am I locking this person in, or am I settling for less than what I truly desire? Coming
yeah,
back to those core beliefs there.
right. And I want to throw another word out into the equation.
Okay.
Once again, we don't want to get into semantics, but well, let me ask this question. What differences are there between settling and contentment?
Mm. Like settling in the negative way
No,
or
your positive way.
in the positive way?
I think it's clear when comes from the negative way.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's in the same, they can be in the same category, contentment. You're content with your choice. You're happy with what you have chosen. You've settled. You can be comfortable settling with this person.
That's real. And Tiffany says, exactly, we should be with someone that values us equally. And I
Mm-hmm.
agree. I
Mm-hmm.
think you definitely need to be with somebody that honors you and that values you and that appreciates you. And when I look at contentment, for me, it means that I'll be honest, like I don't even view that so much as like settling. And the reason why, because remember what our definition of the term is, like
Mm-hmm.
settling is, somebody that doesn't even deserve like no, I'm not settling for that person. So contentment is I'm happy about the person that I chose. I understand that that person isn't perfect. I
Right.
understand that that person may have flaws or may have qualities or characteristics that may not have been at the top of my quote unquote list, but I'm really happy that this is the woman that I chose to be in a relationship with. This is the woman that I chose to marry.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is what contentment is I'm pleased with this decision.
Mm-hmm.
Settling is like, oh well, if there was a better option at this time that I was aware of, I would have went with that.
It's like, my parents said I gotta get married, so I'm just gonna get married
Right.
to
So
whoever
me
I'm dating at the
settling.
time. Maybe that doesn't necessarily mean that you're content with who you chose, but you shouldn't be doing that if you're not content with them. I'm just saying that I'm sorry to that man and that woman.
Facts, facts. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because that topic of settling, I feel like one, people have to recognize that one, you're not going to get the perfect spouse. And this is coming from somebody who once had that belief. It was my big bro to help me to see, like, yo, there is no perfect woman. You're not going to have or find or marry the perfect wife. And that was really jarring for me at the time. And I had to slowly begin to come to the realization that that's just not a possibility. And we had a comment that came in from Tanisha. She says, I believe some people settle when they try to change who they are. Oh, here we go. And they just try to fit in. Hold on, let me take that back. I believe some people settle when they try to change who they are just to fit what their significant other wants. Sometimes we can get a certain age and accept behaviors from people because we are lonely.
Ooh, tell the truth.
That's facts. That's facts. So I'm curious, what's your take as a woman about, making those changes? Well, let me ask this question directly. Have you ever adjusted your behavior or acted in a way that wasn't necessarily in alignment with your true personality just to appease to a man?
Yeah.
In what regard?
Basically not respecting my boundaries that I wasn't fully aware of at the time, and just being like, just going with the flow when I wanted more structure or I wanted something more at the end of the day, not really saying what I needed, not really knowing how to express that. So that's the youth part in their 20s, coming in terms of what, looking back at it, it's like, dang, I was like so young and I didn't know how to express that or express those needs, or make the decision to move forward if I wasn't my needs weren't being met. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I would just kind of like, and then but I wasn't fully naive to their devices either. Like,
Mm,
one guy was trying to, I guess he wanted me to be more of something that I wasn't. And I noticed that. And I was like, I can't give that to you. This is not who I am. And you know that. So it caused a rift in our, relationship. That put actually a blinking red light on that one. I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, you trying to
mm,
switch it up on me? What's up? So that didn't last long after that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real. You mentioned it multiple times throughout tonight's show. There are some people who have that mindset of wanting to change the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings up the question of, do you believe that there are signs that a person can be on the lookout for to distinguish a person who may try to change them?
Yeah, they're always if they are if you feel like they're not accepting you for who you are, how you present yourself, they're always finding a way to make you different. And then whatever that different is totally out of your range of growth. Like if that's totally not what you do, it's not in alignment with your character or a reflection of who you are, then they're trying to change you. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
if you like in my example, I'll get more specific.
Right.
I speak properly, but he wanted someone that had a little more hood edge to them. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if you know me, that's not who I am. So I can't pretend to be something that I'm not. I can give you spice, but I can't give you hood spice like that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like you might get a little hint here and there, but that's not who I am on an everyday basis.
He was
So
looking for Tatiana.
he was looking for something else. And I was just like, I was feeling away. I was like, this is not now I feel like you're trying to change me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Shout out to Gwen Stefani from No Doubt. She had a song back in the day where she was saying, I find myself trying to change you. If you were meant to be my lover, I wouldn't have to. And so that's how it goes. We should be able to accept the person that we're with and they accept us. That makes things easier
Right.
instead of trying to force them to love you or force them to change into something that you want them to be. Why
Mhm.
don't you take the time to find that person who fits what you are looking for? That would
Right.
be easier. But
It
sometimes
will.
people don't want to do that. They want the convenience of the person who's right here, who
Mhm.
answers their phone calls or the text messages that they had a couple good dates with, and like,
Right.
I can make it work with this
Mhm.
person. And then
Right.
that's when the project Bob the Builder, Build a Bear type of activity starts going on. Stop doing
Right.
that, y'all. We have to really stop doing that.
Stop building them bears. So we had a few good comments that came in from Tiffany. This one right here. Oh no, I wanted to put this one up first. Loneliness often drives poor decisions. That
Facts.
right there is a gem. That right there earned her MVP of the night because that's real talk. Some
Yes.
people have not been in a relationship or with somebody for so long that it totally compromises their decision making
Mm-hmm.
ability.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to be sharp out here. You
You
got
really
to be
do.
sharp. And I think that's one of the downsides of people, for lack of a better term, not keeping their ears to the street. You don't necessarily have to be active in the dating scene, but you do need to stay aware of what is happening. Because
Right.
some people they jump back in the dating scene after being out for a year or more, and it's just like everything is different. They don't
It's
know how much stuff has changed, and then they're trying to adjust on the fly, and oftentimes that leads them to make decisions that are poor, just like Tiffany mentioned. Because oh man, like yo, that guy is hot, she thinks, or that woman bad, she a 9 or a 10. I don't know if any other options like that are on the table. So he's trying to
right.
compromise and make little changes in order to be with her. Like, nah, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta believe people when they show you who they are.
Yep.
So then Tiffany's other comment says contentment is being at peace and satisfied within yourself regarding a choice. I agree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Settling is just making a decision with a sincere level of inner peace.
I agree.
It's real. That's real. That's real. And she had one more. She says, I haven't changed myself for someone, but I have put up with behavior that was far below what I deserve. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a reality.
I
That's a
think a lot of
reality.
us have been there because it's like you want to make it work with this person. There's other things that are keeping you there, but it's just that one thing that's off, and it happens to be something that is foundational. And so
Right.
you have to make the hard choice to choose yourself because
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to get any better. Like I said before, you being with them encourages that negative behavior to continue because you can whine, you can complain, you can plead with them to change, you can bring them counsel. Sometimes, most likely, they're not going to change. They have to want to change. You making them want to change is not going to do it. They have to want to do it. They got to have that come to Jesus moment for themselves. And even sometimes it takes them a while to get it right. So, is
Mm-hmm.
that something you want to stick around for? You better ask yourself that question.
That's real. That's real. And before we close things out, I just want to give everybody in the chat the opportunity. If you guys have any questions that you like us to answer before we wrap up tonight, definitely let us know. Like I mentioned before, hit the like button if you haven't, subscribe so you guys can continue to join us each Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We always gonna have some good topics that we're gonna be discussing and cooking up. But with that being said, Tatiana, I think that this topic right here is one where people just have to respect themselves, honor themselves enough to, like our MVP, Tiffany said,
Mm-hmm.
don't make poor decisions. Be
Yeah.
aware of your state when you're entering into the dating scene, whether you're entering into a relationship or entering into a marriage. You need to be aware of where you are at that given time. Are you at your best? Are you sharp? Are you in a place to make wise decisions? Or are you needing to take some time to get yourself right before you get back out there and move to that next level?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. You definitely need to be self-aware, and that's something unfortunately we don't get taught. You have to
Mhm.
kind of eventually grow into that. Like tap into your feelings, tap into where you believe God has you at this time in your life. Like, is this really a good time for me to be dating? Is this a good time for me to get married? Am I ready? Ask yourself, am I ready to be married? Am I truly ready? Am I counting the cost of that? Because sometimes we're brought up to believe that just because you're a certain age, that means you're ready for something. No, not necessarily. There has to
Right.
be other things in order that will help you have a more successful outcome. Not
Hmm.
saying that 19-year-olds can get married and have successful marriages, and 39-year-olds can have ones that don't work out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just depends on your maturity, your readiness, your self-awareness, the people in your life that can either hold you accountable, can pray for you, offer counsel, offer help. Because in a godly relationship or marriage, you're definitely going to need that strong community around you. So you have to think about all these factors, and you can work on that in your single season. I mention that all the time. Developing your relationships with your family and your friendships now is good practice for your relationship with your partner or your spouse in the future. So think about how you are in your relationships. Think about how you communicate. Think about what you can work on, how you can get better so that you can bring the best to your romantic relationship. Because I know we're all expecting the best from our partners. So let's
Hmm.
make sure that we bring the best to them too.
That's real. That's real talk. Yo, I love it. I love it. And I didn't see any questions come through. So just want to thank you guys for joining. Oh, hold on. Let's see what we got here. Tiffany says, beyond smiling and open to conversation, likes, when a man you like approaches, how can I let a man know I'm interested without being too aggressive? Beyond smiling and open to conversation. Hmm. I would say it depends on the scenario, right? So let's use this example. If you're out at a grocery store, right, and you're not a tall woman, right, and you happen to be going down the aisle and you see a guy that you think is handsome or cute or however you want to describe him,
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
say, hey, can you reach that for me? Like, can you grab that for me? And if he's willing to help, if he really seems interested, if he smiles at you, then I think that there you go.
Is
Like,
that wait, Jay? Is that a choosing signal if he's smiling at her?
well, I mean, a man isn't necessarily going to send a choosing signal. That's for a
Okay.
woman, because this is the
Oh,
thing.
okay.
If a man is interested in you, when you make the choosing signal of you smile, you ask,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, can I have some help?" And if he offers to help, he does it with a smile, not begrudgingly, and then he sparks up some conversation with you, and you know, that's the way it works.
And then he hands you the item, right? So you like with your
Yeah,
other hand, like, thank you,
right,
thank you. You gotta do the hand.
right.
You gotta do the hand touch thing, but just
Facts,
not too much, just enough.
facts. Right, and
I'm just.
ladies, if you want to see if he is in shape, ask him to grab that package of bottled water. Like, yeah, I need two of them, and this is how you can tell if he work out and he know he got the, he
Yo,
gonna grab both of them at the same time just to let you know,
wow.
yeah, he got that work, he got that work. But don't hold it against him if he just grab one. Still, I'm just saying. And yo, here's the thing. Cynthia says, I want to practice this at the grocery store. Do it. This is what I gotta say. Okay, yeah, now we cooking.
Woo!
Now we cooking, right?
Also, there are certain
Men,
times of the week to go to the grocery store. Single
right,
ladies.
right. This is the thing. Men practice. I think this is where women often fall short when it comes to being able to meet guys. A lot of women will say, "Where are all the good guys? Where they at?" I
Mm-hmm,
can promise
mm-hmm.
you, women that say that are not aware of choosing signals, and more than likely, they're not emitting any. Because I promise you, men are everywhere you go. Men that you would actually be attracted to are everywhere you go. But if you're not aware of it, if you only think you're going to meet men when you go out to the club or a restaurant or, hanging out at some lounge or something, then you've already lost the game. You greatly reduce the chances of you meeting somebody. So, what Cynthia just said is important. The same way men do it, go out and practice. Go out and
Yes.
practice. And y'all, and I'm not saying women got to do it just like men, but men do it in groups. Like
Mm-hmm.
men, like we go out in groups and say, yo, like this is the sole mission. The sole mission is to do what? See how many women we can meet while we are at the mall or doing this. I know some people like, oh, that's high school stuff. No, it's not. It's just staying sharp with your skills. It's staying sharp with your skills. And I think that women, if you get in the practice of at the very least just being aware, and it can start with the grocery store. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm at the grocery store. Let's see. You go at a time when it's kind of peaking, where it's some people there, or you go at a time where it's not really peaking.
Yeah.
And if you see somebody, immediately put yourself in a position where you can smile, you can speak, and then you can ask. That's the thing. That's what I would lead the ladies with. Smile, speak, ask.
Ooh, that's
Because then
good.
you put it
Smile,
right back,
speak,
you put it right
ask.
back in his table. You did everything. If you smile, if you speak, and if you ask, then it's on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you don't want to leave it all in your imagination. Like, oh, he must have somebody already. Maybe he's thinking the same thing. I'm like, I wonder if she's with somebody. But if you're interested and you want to break the silence and be like, hey, can you help me? Or would you help me get this expensive olive oil off the shelf? We're going for the expensive one in this scenario. I mean, it's right up there, but you need him to get it for you, right? So just take it anyway. Just put it in the cart. You don't even have to buy it at the end of the day. Just
Right.
initiate that conversation.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like it doesn't even have to be asking him to reach something for you, right? It could be asking his opinion. Like, hey,
Ooh,
have you tried this
yes.
before? Right? Like, have you tried this before?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Maybe somebody recommended, like some what is it, non-gluten or vegan snack or something. And
Yep.
you're like,
Yep.
if you in Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, like, yo, I never had this before. Have you had
Yes.
this? Like, is this any good?
Trader Joe's. That's my
You can
place.
see, like, yo, is this something you would recommend? Like, that's what I would say. So then Tanisha says, enjoyed the conversation with everyone. Definitely learned some new insights tonight. That's great. We are
Thank you for
definitely
joining
appreciating
us
you.
again. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you, Tanisha. Tiffany says, sorry, I'm just starting to date again and I'm over 40, so I need some tips. No, we here to help.
No
We here to help.
worries.
And what we said, it works. No matter what your age is, it works. She says, what is the best time to go to the grocery store?
I
So
have my theories.
what do you say?
When I was living back in Chicago, I noticed that during the middle of the week, not the weekends, was a better opportunity to meet single guys, like Mondays or Wednesdays.
Hmm.
So you can always do practice runs to the grocery store in the middle of the week to see what's going on.
Hmm.
I also saw this last week on social media. Someone said, sis, if you single and you trying to find somebody, you better go to the grocery store right before Thanksgiving because that's when the brother's gonna be out there. So you never know. They might be there right before a certain holiday where food's
Hmm.
involved, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, stuff like that. So I would try that. As a guy who shops sometimes, like what would you say would be the best time to go to the grocery store if she's trying to meet
Uh,
someone?
I'll be honest. So like I still approach it like a guy. I don't believe that it's gonna be different in your location, your region, what store you going to, all of that type of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
my
Definitely.
thing is you gotta try it out. Like you got go to the grocery store every single day. Like I know some people like that's extreme. Why? Well, you want to know? Like the best time is to go figure it out. Like and you never know. Like that's what my
Yeah.
recommendation will be. Is like, okay, I'm gonna go to the grocery store right after work every day. So I'm gonna go around like 6:37ish, where everybody that's coming home, just got off work or at the store. And then see what that looks like Monday, Sunday through Saturday. See what that look like, right? See what it looks
Mm-hmm.
like. And then choose another time and do that. That's what I would recommend personally is if you are just new to this and you want to know what the perfect day is so that you can go at that day and time, then I would just say, yo, you're gonna have to test it out. You definitely
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to test it out. But this is the thing. It's not gonna be an L because guess what? Some of those days you're gonna come across somebody And if you do what I mentioned before, if you smile, you speak, and you ask, you get something out of it. You get something out of the
Hey.
deal. At the very
Yeah.
least, you're gonna get some practice.
Yeah, same thing goes for other places too, like bookstores and the airport and other places like that. Like expand your options. I met a really good date at a library. Random. It was at some kind of event that was held at
Dope.
the library, and we had a good connection, and we had a great first date after that. So you just never
See?
know.
Yeah. See, I feel like you can meet somebody anywhere. What I often find when I speak to women is that women aren't actively trying to be aware of the men around them unless they're in like
Yo,
a quote unquote dating scenario. If it's not
that
the
reminds
club, the
me.
lounge, or some place where you expect men to approach you, it's like most women are just shut off to the possibility that literally everywhere you go, you can meet men.
That's a
I
fact.
know women who have met men at the grocery store, at the gym, at the gas station, while getting their oil changed, in line at a restaurant. Like, like while getting takeout. Like, the possibilities are endless.
That's
It's just
true.
whether or not you are aware that every time you step out, ladies, you should be stepping out like, yo, if you look good, you should be like, yo, men are checking for me today. And that's the thing. Women will get dialed up, right, Tatiana? They will be looking good. I ain't gonna hold
Hmm.
it. They looking fire. But then they're walking out knowing they look good, but they just expecting somebody to just walk up randomly. They not aware. They don't see the people that are looking at them because they're so laser focused. Like, you have a role to play as well, ladies.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jay. I was going to bring that up too to add to your points about
Mhm.
smiling and speaking. Also, being observant, like mind your surroundings, because you never know someone it might be in your peripheral. If you weren't paying attention to them, now all of a sudden you can position yourself to get seen by them or even initiate a conversation. So there's always
Right.
that.
And we had a question come in from MSM 41009. We appreciate you for tuning in. They said in the past, she dated a man who had excessive amounts of debt,
Hmm.
150K. How do I bring up finances when dating? So, once again, it goes back to I don't know how long you've been here, but when we talk about dating, dating isn't that place where you're in a relationship with a person, right? Like, so you're
Hmm.
still at a place where you're making investments in one another. And what I would say here is that you can bring up the topic of finances generally, like not specifically, not like, yo, bro, how much debt you got? Like what's your 401k one your 401k looking like? Like, but no, just ask general questions like, what's your take on finances? Do you
Hmm.
actively manage? Like, just asking a person, do you invest? Do you believe in saving? Just general questions. When you start there, that'll give you some good indication. I've had
Hmm.
conversations and women be like, investing, what's that? Saving, like I got about $20 in savings. Okay. Is that because you just recently made a purchase or something? You had an emergency or something? No. Okay. Okay. 20 is all you got. So then my follow-up question would be, if you only got $20 in your savings, maybe you're a smart investor. So you invest? Nah. Okay. Okay. That's a red flag to me.
Woo.
That's a red flag to me. I'm just saying, like, it's not nothing wrong with you as a person, but I
Hmm.
know that your financial understanding is limited.
Yeah. Those are the telltale signs right there. Got to ask those questions. If you come to the point where you understand, if you get to the understanding that you know how much debt they have, you can definitely start asking those questions. Like if
Right.
the fact that you know that's how
Mhm.
much they have in debt, you can definitely have that conversation. Like, hey, so you have a lot of debt.
Mhm.
Me too. I mean, I have maybe not as much as you, but what's your plan of getting out of that? Like,
Right.
just hear them out, because maybe
Mhm.
they don't have any interest in paying the debt off, or
Right.
maybe they have a certain plan for it. Like I have federal student loans, and
Mhm.
i'm working I'm working on that with the public service loan forgiveness. So it just depends on the person and what their job is or what their financial plan is.
Right.
So in terms of how do I bring it up finances in dating, yeah, I agree with what Jay was saying. Like, you just have those conversations when it's appropriate, maybe not on a first date, but yeah, you're just getting to know that person. You definitely want to bring it up because finances are important in those long term relationships and
Yeah,
marriages.
most definitely. And this is what I would say. When a person reveals to you the amount of debt that they have, this is the first question that I would ask them is, how did you get into that debt?
That's a good
That's a big
question.
it's a big difference between 150K from student loans versus
Mm-hmm.
150K from credit cards, car loans,
Medical bills.
medical bills, like cash advance. Like somebody got, you
Ooh,
went to the cash advance and now you didn't pay them back and now you owe these
uh-oh.
people, bill collectors.
That interest
So
is real.
so that would be my first thing is if they are open enough to share the amount of debt, get understanding of what kind of debt is it. Then I'm assuming, and I'm making assumptions here, so just ride with it. If the person telling you how much debt they have, I'm assuming that they feel comfortable enough to let you know a general idea of how much money they're earning, right? So then, if they're earning a sizable amount of money, right? Like let's say, for example, they making 50 to 60K a year minimum, right? That means that this person should be tackling this debt. So the first
Mm-hmm.
question would be is how long have you been at your job? So because maybe they just came on this job. So maybe they haven't had enough time to really, make a dent in that debt that they have. The second thing is they tell you how much they're currently in debt. Another question you should ask is how much have you paid off thus far? That's gonna be the kicker. Because if they like, um, uh, I don't really if they don't know, that lets you know that that person doesn't really have a plan. They may be making payments, but if they're not aware of what their total debt is, amount is, and how much they're paying, I'm not saying run away, but you should at least ask them like, hey, maybe you should consider putting together a plan as to how you want to get out of that debt.
Yeah, it's definitely a yellow flag because you want to make sure, like, are they going to be disciplined to tackle this on because it's
Mhm.
serious and you don't want it to affect your future.
Right. And getting the understanding of what is their relationship to debt now. Because
Mm-hmm.
this
Mm-hmm.
is what I'll say for myself. Like, only debt I have is student loan debt. And I'm totally adverse to any debt after that. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like, nah, I ain't going nowhere near it. I'm paying cash for something unless it makes sense for me to do something otherwise. So let's see. She says it was student loan debt and he had it deferred. He also had car and credit card debt. See, now you gotta figure out, well, which one is the biggest debt?
And why is it deferred? Because there are income based repayment plans. There's a way to pay the student loan without you having to spend all of your paycheck on taking care of your bills. There has to be a way to get around it because you can't avoid it forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is the thing that I'll say to anybody out there is if you're in a relationship with somebody, don't try to be their financial coach. Recommend that they hire one. That's the last thing that you want to do. Like the same way that I don't advocate for people being the therapist for the person they're in a relationship with, don't try to be their financial advisor or their financial planner, even if that's your profession. Don't do that. Y'all know that one of the main reasons why people get divorced is because of finances. The last thing you want is your partner thinking that you trying to tell them what to do with their money and their finances. Clearly, that will be once again a flag to pay attention to if they do take offense. But just save yourself the grief. Just say, hey, I think it's important for you to consider meeting with a financial coach or a financial planner, somebody that can help you to begin tackling this debt.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my recommendation.
Because as someone who's a homeowner, let me tell you, that student loan debt will come back to bite you,
Mm,
and it can keep you from getting a house. Because if your debt to income ratio is too different, where you have more debt than they think you can handle to take on a new debt like a house,
mhm.
then they're going to be like, no, we can't give this to you. So that's why I'm saying it's important to put a plan in action where you're showing your creditors or you're showing the mortgage company or whoever in the future that you are paying on these debts. So
Mhm.
don't take it lightly, handle your business, people.
Right. Right. That's real. That's real. Yeah. Man, Tatiana, it's been a great show. Oh, hold on, hold on. Let's see. We got another comment. Every time I be already closing, I love it. Y'all like, hold on, what's up?
The
All right.
MVP has
Yes,
spoken
that's
once
real.
again.
Do not co-sign or loan them money either.
Don't do it.
Don't do it ever.
Sometimes we can't even co-sign for some of our family members. Don't do it for no boo.
Facts.
Come on.
Facts. You should not be co-signing. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. And be very, very careful who you lend your money to. I would say this: if you lend your money, lend it with the expectation of never getting it back.
Mm-hmm. I heard that
Like, just,
before. That's
and that's one thing
wisdom.
that I feel like, yo, it's not a loan. I'm gonna just give it to you.
Yeah, you don't want to, yeah, because you don't want to end up resenting that
Right.
person because they ended up not paying you back when you thought they were going to pay you back.
Yeah.
It gets real messy, especially with the
Yeah.
relationship stuff. Mm-mm.
The way I look at it, I'm not gonna loan you money. I'm either gonna do one or two things when it comes to money. I'm either going to give it to you, or I'm going to invest in you, your business, or something like that. But primarily a business, not you as an individual. If you got a business venture, okay, I want a percentage of that. Make me a
Mm-hmm.
partner.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the money is for. I'm
And get
buying
it in
into your business.
and get all of that in writing.
Right. What she just said. What she just said. So let's see. She says, right. I was very concerned. He avoided the fight. Oh, that's the red flag. Now that yellow flag turned into a red flag. He avoided financial conversation. Finances is important. I'm 34 years old, and as you get older, managing finances is vital. It is.
It is,
It
yeah.
is. It is. Trust me.
Nah, he
I
avoided
wish
it.
I knew. I wish the things that I knew in my 20s. Trust me. Hear what I'm about to say. I wish the things that I knew in my 20s, I was wise enough to apply them in my 20s. You see,
Yes.
I had the information. I knew I got the degrees to prove it, right? I had the information in abundance. I just wasn't applying it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that we got to recognize. For some people, they don't even have an understanding. So you got to start where you are. The minute you learn something that can help benefit you financially, apply it.
Yes.
I tell you, Tatiana, one of the things that really frustrates me is when I'm having financial conversations with people that are open to it, and I'm giving them actionable steps. And I follow back a while, and like they ain't did nothing. I really have a 3-strike rule. We gonna have this conversation 3 times. I'm gonna make that same suggestion to you 3 times, and then I'm never gonna do it again if you don't take action. Because those people will probably never take action until it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sad truth. So I don't know. To me, that's another thing that I definitely look for in a partner is somebody that understands, like, yo, when you're adding value to them and doing it with nothing in return. Right? I don't get nothing in return. Like, what do I get from you getting your finances together?
Right. Like I'm trying to help you out and then you don't even
Right.
like implement it. Like, what am I supposed to do now?
Facts. Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Nah,
Mm-hmm.
man, tonight was good.
Yes, it
Definitely appreciate
was.
you guys for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will have some more great topics lined up. If you guys have topics or questions that you want us to address, go to righttoreallove.com/contact. Send them over to us, just like the email we read at the top of this show today. We'll read yours if you give us the opportunity and the permission to do so. But other than that, man, you guys have a great evening, and we definitely look forward to catching you next Tuesday.
Bye, y'all.